Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm going to be doing tarot today, as you can tell. I am going to be adding in my astrology where I see relevant. I'm sorry, that's my style. If that's not your jam, totally get it. It's not for everybody, but I do add it in. So we're going to start with our Aries friends, okay, guys? If you want to work with me privately, please check out the description box below any of my videos for the link to my booking site. Any of those readings, I could add tarot to it. Just when you order it, you could add in the description box that you want tarot added in with it. It's all good, right? All right. I hope you guys are doing great. Our Aries friends, Aries, Aries, Aries. King of Cups just fell out. King of Cups, very emotionally intelligent energy. You want to sit down and have that conversation, but you might be realizing when you sit down to have the conversation that there is something that you need to address a little more deeply within yourself and not only with someone else. This isn't to discount anything that you might be feeling about some sort of emotional situation at all. It's not to discount that, but it is to say that there is something within you that needs addressing simultaneously. So let's pull a Celtic cross and see what we get. Ooh, we have the beautiful Wheel of Fortune starting us out. We love that. That's a big yes card. That's a big culmination card. Let's see what's challenging. Okay. So we have the Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands, you're tired. You're very tired. There's a lot of fear-based energy that I'm getting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we have the Five of Coins coming into this. Okay, so let's see what we get. Knight of Pentacles, right now, you're concerned about money. You're concerned about the future. You're also very focused on promises made. Were those promises kept? Okay. New beginnings going on here, needing to release, like something is done, done, done here. Nothing to be scared about. It could just simply be a mindset, right? So we have the wheel, all right? And remember, the wheel goes around, comes around. It is a big yes card. It's very connected to Jupiter, but it's also connected to expansion, right? And because this is a Jupiter energy, we do have to remember that Jupiter does rule the ninth house, and in your ninth house in the month of May, we do have Black Moon Lilith transiting retrograde. So there is something that you just want to make sure that if you're really digging your heels into some sort of situation, particularly if it has to do with a move, if it has to do with your future, if it has to do with anything like that, any sort of legal situation, anything having to do with politics, anything having to do with religion, anything like that, we do want to make sure that we're asking ourselves, okay, am I too dug in here? Is this something that I'm being a little too fussy about? Or is this something that, I could perhaps just look at something differently, right? I mean, this is this idea of can I look at something a bit differently? Okay. Let me just move this. So sorry about that. I don't know why this Zoom is acting very wonky today. So that has to do with the Wheel of Fortune, right? Now, again, this could also mean for some of you something coming back from the past. So heads up, this could be a relationship coming back from the past. This could be an old boss calling you to see if you want to come back. This could be an old friend trying to contact you. But the caveat here, guys, is you have to remember what it was the last time around. If it was maybe just a timing issue, then Jupiter's going to bless it. If it wasn't so much a timing issue and that it's that person was just very toxic and not good for you, Jupiter is not going to allow this situation to manifest any further. Now it is being crossed by the Nine of Wands, and this does tell me you are exhausted. You're just tired. Now, for a lot of you, that the exhaustion could just be like mental exhaustion, like I'm so tired of this. You still have fire in your belly. You're not ready to throw in the rag and walk away from everything. You're not ready to do that. But you are feeling defensive, and rightfully so. There's a very good reason why you're feeling very defensive about this situation that's coming back from the past, whether it's a person, whether it's a feeling, whether it's this desire to grow in a different way. Just because Black Moon Lilith is in that ninth house retrograde doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that internally, you're very like stuck on something. And you may have very good reason to be very stuck on that because leading into this energy, we do have the Five of Coins. Now, the Five of Coins is a sense of abandonment. Maybe you're just feeling like you're not getting enough help or you're just not getting enough support. You do have more than you realize, but everybody's, perspective is different. Someone may be helping you, but they're not helping you in the way that you very much need right now. Doesn't have to only be financial because it's coins. Coins also means, physical support, mental support, relational support. It's not only money, right? But you see these people here, they're very cold and they seem hungry. But here they have the church, and the church always has the doors open, or at least traditionally they do. I suppose they don't do so much anymore now, but here they, have the doors open. They could go in and find warmth and something to eat, but they're choosing not to go in. They're choosing not to, right? So really giving yourself something to think about. Where are you maybe not seeing where you do have support? I'm not saying that you're not right in feeling the way that you feel, but this is like trying to have, the advice here is try to look at the glass a little more half full, trying to figure out a way of getting the individual or the situation that you're dealing with. I'm not saying to come around to your way of thinking, but to at least think differently. Because we do have the Three of Coins in the foundation, and you do want something to work, and you want to work with someone, whether this is a business partnership, a relationship, some sort of family situation. You're all about working with somebody. You even want to have some sort of new beginning here. We have the Ace of Cups, which is what's on your mind. Ace of Cups is beautiful. This is a new child. This is getting married, moving in together, a new relationship, something new that speaks to your heart space because cups are about our emotions and how it is that we feel. And the thing is, an Ace of Cups energy could come in and be working in your life without anything changing other than your perspective. Kind of changing the lens through which you're seeing things, trying to find, the upside of things. But at the same time, if things are very imbalanced for you, and for a lot of you, it may be. It's not easy having Chiron transit your sign, and he's been transiting your sign for the past 6 years. And he's going to finally get out of there next year. He's actually going to dip out of your energy and into Taurus for the summer, June, July, August. But, it's been traveling in there, the wound of self, not feeling very confident, or feeling very good, or not feeling very built up by the energies that are surrounding you. In fact, you may have had the opposite situation go on. Felt like regardless of like what's going on in your life, people in your life making you feel not so great about yourself. Now your energy is showing up as the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So some of you, again, not really feeling very motivated right now, right? Not feeling very motivated and not feeling very in a space where you're willing to accept somebody's flaws, somebody's inability to be a healthy communicator, somebody's inability to actually show up in a way that you genuinely need. Right? It's very difficult when the Knight of Pentacles. But this is telling me it's like on the one hand, if it has to do with relationship, you're seeing where something's missing and you're not able to unsee it, and you're not willing to be grateful in the moment for their good qualities. And it's not that you don't recognize them. It's not that at all. It's just that what you feel is missing really needs to be rectified. And whatever situation you're working with, whether it's a relationship partner or a boss or whoever it is, right? There's something that's kicking up that vertex retrograde, or that vertex rather, in Libra in the seventh house, where there's some sort of fated situation, that's happening here. And it's not on purpose, right? I mean, this is meant to happen. There's some sort of a little showdown in that seventh house. So it could be with a boss or your bosses, or it could be with a significant other. It could be with a best friend. There's some sort of situation because it's opposing Pallas. It's opposing Saturn. And these are the energies in the house where it's like, this is what I bring to the table. This is the kind of solid future that I want. Are you partner? Are you boss? Are you other person in this with me? Or are we speaking a completely different language? So there's a stuckness that you could be feeling right now, even if you're not able to verbalize it, because the energy that's surrounding you right now. And this is not your energy. This is an energy that you're dealing with. We have the Three of Wands. And this is a person who is looking at the future, doesn't want to look at the past, doesn't want to look at how you guys got here, is very focused on the future. But I feel like this person's future is not really aligning with exactly the image of what your future is. And in your mental block, we have the cup energy, the four of the Six of Cups energy, where, very nostalgic. So the past may be really sticking you. Your own childhood may be sticking you. You don't want to repeat negative patterns, right? An example of this is, for example, let's say you came from a home where your parents were divorced, and even though you and your partner are not seeing eye to eye, you don't want that because you remember the kind of life that you had when your parents got divorced. This could also be this very strong desire in your mental realm for validation, for recognition, to be seen for what it is that you're contributing, to be seen for all it is that you do, for your voice to be heard. Because they do feel like you don't feel like your voice is very heard right now. Saturn in the first, you got Chiron in there, you have Neptune. It's like, hello, why do I feel a little invisible right now? I don't quite get it. And we have in the near future, we have the Ten of Wands. It's in reverse though. So this is about putting the damn wands down. Wands are passion, motivation, connection, right? But one wand after another put into your arms for you to carry as you're walking on your path, it gets to a point where you can't carry anymore. You have to put them down. And you have. And you've changed. This is a shift for you. And the thing is, no one in your life may even actually recognize it. Holy so. Holy so. But you're done. You're done. You're tired of carrying everything. You don't want to do it anymore. You just don't. We have the Page of Wands in reverse. Be very careful of anybody coming in and making you big, beautiful butterfly promises. You want to be careful here. Because the Page of Wands is, this could be player energy. This could be somebody who's promising a lot. Oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, da da da. Just be careful here. Now, this may be you. This may be you giving somebody else lip service, and not out of malice. I do want to just say that it's more having to do with being very unclear about what's next. It's very difficult when Neptune is in your sign. Neptune is newly in your sign. You're not used to it. It's in there with Saturn. They're going to be hanging out in there together for the next few years. This is not a bad thing, guys. But you want to understand that the rose-colored glasses are getting smacked off your face when it comes to the path moving forward. And you're having some serious downloads right now having to do with, how life is supposed to be rolling out for you. You're having some serious downloads, and you're also realizing where you may have allowed some illusions to live. Um, it's going to be different when this ABC happens, we're going to be able to do this and this. And when we get to this point, we're going to be able to do this and this. And you're just realizing the reality of all of it. And you want your significant other or your boss or whoever it is that you're dealing with to be in that space with you. But it feels like they really don't want to be in that space. And that doesn't mean that they can't be. Communication can be everything. Okay? Communication is everything, especially with this King of Cups popping out. You're very emotionally intelligent right now. You're very able to actually sit down and have that one-on-one conversation in the month of May. This is certainly going to be something that you're able to do. Just pull a couple of oracles. Unleash your creativity. Yeah, for sure. Guys, with that Leo energy, get ready, people. Get ready, Aries risings, especially to a lesser degree, Sun and Moon, but still to you guys, because you have 5 houses away from you. Jupiter's going to be transiting there. The end of June for the next year is very late in Cancer right now. It's getting ready for some sort of new beginning. It's going to be working very nicely as well with it's going to be sextiling that Uranus energy. So this is fantastic for those of you who want to get into writing, speaking, teaching, starting some sort of channel, some sort of blog, vlog, getting yourself out there, getting published, getting something out there to the world. Very nice energy. Take off your mask. Yeah, Aries, it's you've been hiding who you really are. You've been very like your non-Aries self. You haven't been yourself since like the beginning of 2019. Obviously, depending on what else is in your chart. But since Aries, whenever Chiron goes into a sign, it really is the debilitated version of that energy, you know? But you're getting ready because he's getting ready to leave. He's going to be dipping out in the summer and he's going to be leaving by next spring. Center card here is cycles, number 6, recognizing the cycles in your life and recognizing that you're just entering into a new season right now. We do have here some sub challenges here is pride. Now, the pride could be yours, or you could be dealing with somebody who's quite prideful. And then we have family and tribe. So the idea that you have to consider your family, you have to consider your people, you have to consider everyone who loves you and who you're responsible for. It can't just be all about you, but that means that you can't that's just worth considering. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go after something that you're looking to go after, you know? Yeah. So overall, this looks like a very positive reading to me. It just looks like coming to terms with recognizing, what feels out of alignment and having the strength this month to actually go in and try to just once and for all recognize that and have conversations. Okay, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Taurus. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's get into your reading. We're going to pull a Celtic cross spread and we'll pull a couple of oracles after that to see where we're at. Wants to come out. Let's see who's that. Let's see. Oh, and it came up. Why would this be, right? The Six of Wands in reverse. So it's not feeling very supported. Not feeling very supported. You have a lot going on in your 12th house, Taurus. You have Neptune, you have Pallas Athena, you have Saturn, you have Mars, you have Aries, you have Chiron. They're all in the 12th house. So very introspective. The 12th house is many things. It's where Pisces lives. It's where Neptune rules. So Neptune is at home there. Um, but with all of these energies in the house of endings and the subconscious and wrapping things up, you're very, very, very within yourself right now, right? A lot is happening very deeply within you because your 12th house, your first house, very full right now. That third house, which is ruled by Mercury, your mind, right? With that Cancer energy in there, thinking very, very deeply about your past, feeling very nostalgic, feeling very sensitive um, about these things. But let's see what the cards, excuse me, the cards say for May. I love that we have the world here because the world is Saturn, right? And Saturn just moves into your 12th house. So you've been doing a lot of healing, coming to terms with things, feeling very motivated, more motivated than you've been feeling. Common feeling when Uranus leaves your sign, so common that you just feel more ready to implement. You know what I'm saying? But you have all of these energies in the 12th house. So there is this coming to terms, figuring out what it all means, figuring out what to let go, what to hold on to. So we do have the Knight of Wands. And this is the current energy that's being crossed by the Ten of Swords. So there's some sort of truth. There could have been some sort of big argument, some sort of conversation, because the Ten of Swords is a tricky energy, right? It's one sword at a time over time. Put in your back. This could be gossip at work. This could be gossip within the family. Is it gossip about you? People trying to deflect and gaslight and all that nonsense. You know what I mean? Making you question your own reality and all of that. And you're just not having it anymore. You're not having it. The Knight of Wands has to say, like, what it is that he is feeling, right? So I want you to think about, where are you feeling in your life right now that you need to have a more defined voice, and really just let people know how it is that you really feel. And honestly, with the Knight of Wands, with all of that energy in the 12th house in your first house, it's also getting very honest with yourself at the same time about all of the past hurts, all of the realities, everything that's been going on in that area for you. We have in the subconscious, we have the Page of Coins, right? This is kind of underneath everything. So the page is the young and of the court, and coins have to do with not only finances, but also mental and emotional connection. And so the some of you may be in a very strong space of very strongly wanting a new job or wanting a new relationship, or even if you have a job and you're in a relationship, just a stronger support system, could be that. Some of you are going to be meeting people that are going to check off that box, right? Especially with the North Node in Pisces, right? At the degrees that he's in, right? Because he's around 5, 6 degrees in the whole. I'm sorry, 4 or 5 degrees in the month of May. So, because he's getting ready to transition into your 10th house, right, in the middle of July. So he's in that very, very, very early decan, right? To end, to get ready for his exit. So a lot of you are very clearly thinking about your future. You're thinking about, do you have enough for retirement? Do you have enough money for the future, regardless of how old you are? You're thinking about your support systems. You're thinking very, very, very realistically. You really are. And I love that we got the Nine of Cups. You're focusing on yourself, not in a selfish, egocentric kind of way, but this is you just trying to gather your things together. What's next would be that Ten of Cups, kind of arriving, feeling very emotionally secure, all of that. Right now, you're working on yourself. Maybe you're going to therapy. Maybe you're working on your money. You're restructuring your finances. You're trying to figure out where it is that your next move is to, whether that's literally having to do with, home property, real estate, or whether it has to do with, and the only reason I'm saying that is because the South Node is going to be moving into the fourth house come the middle of July for 18 months after that. And a lot of times the South Node can indicate moving, right? It's not so much about losing a home because it's South Node, but it's reframing or restructuring something about home. So a lot of you could be in that space, and doing all the preparatory work, right, for all of that, because what's representing you is the King of Cups. Now, the King of Cups is very emotionally intelligent. It's a beautiful energy, but it also does indicate you needing to sit down and have a conversation, not only with yourself, but also with someone else, recognizing your role in the situation, about how it is that you feel, right? Really looking at how it is that you feel about something. Now, you do have that Pluto energy. It's retrograde right now in the sign of Aquarius, opposing your fourth house of emotional foundation, home property, real estate, family. So a lot of times this can encourage this idea of, okay, we have to sit down and we have to have the conversation. The energy surrounding you is the Chariot, which is also very connected to Cancer. So this could be one of your children, a family member, a significant other, some sort of conversation, again, about home property, real estate, emotional security, even if there's not a little move or just some changes that need to be made. Now, someone may be discussing this with you as well, right? Because all of the cards could always be vice versa, where someone may be just having a discussion with you about, this need to move away from this toxic way of being towards something that's a lot more liberating, a lot more free, a lot lighter, right? And when I say liberating and free, that sounds very ethereal and almost like Hallmark, right? What does that even mean? So when we're talking about these energies, it could just be like, it makes more sense to like live in a certain place, maybe because of proximity to loved ones, or because it makes more financial sense, or closer to friends, or um, restructuring something in your house, perhaps so that you could maybe rent out part of your house, which would ultimately end up helping you financially. You get the idea, right? This idea of restructuring. right? Your energy is getting ready to do that, moving away from something that's been toxic, that's been in place, right, towards a much better place, right? Now, in your psychological block, we do have the Page of Swords. Swords are air, so these are thoughts, and it's the page, young and of the court. So, like new thoughts or some sort of new conversation, new communication, something that's come in, some sort of message that comes in that might be stopping you in your tracks right now. But in your near future, I do see beautiful Ace of Swords. This is a great energy, a different message coming in, some sort of thumbs up. Thumbs up to that relationship, that job situation, that living situation, that relationship circumstance. Some of you may even be meeting somebody new, getting a new job offer, connecting with somebody new, right? Just through conversation that's going to ultimately end up playing an important role in your life because we do have the final card as the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is a lovely energy. This is an offer coming in. Again, and the offer could be like, hey, why don't we move in together, significant other? Or, hey, why don't you come live with me, mom or dad? Or why don't we become roommates? Why don't we get married? Let's have a child. Do you want to work for me? It could be a job offer. But it's this offer because nights bring offers, but it's something that's going to really move you very significantly emotionally. And why I love this for you is because you have so much stuff going on in your emotional houses. You just do with your emotional signs. In the sign of Cancer right now, in May, you're going to have part of Fortune, cool, Jupiter, cool, but you also have Kronos, Hades, and Hygeia. So there could be something going on with your health, and you're getting some help from family, you're getting some help from a really good medical team, something like that. You also have the North Node in Estrella, and Vesta having to do with Pisces. So there could be some sort of new manifestation of something going on with your health, or realizing that you just need some sort of support, but the support is coming in. So that's the larger narrative, right? It just is. Your Scorpio energy, there's not a whole lot going on having to do with this month. There's just not, which is a good thing. But because Black Moon Lilith is retrograde in Sagittarius transiting your eighth house, you do want to make sure that you're not like saying no because you're stubborn, you know, when it comes to anything eighth house, which could be debt, taxes, moving, other people's money, like I'm not going to take your money, or I'm not lending you money, or I can't move, we don't have money, or we can't do fill in the blank, whatever it is. You just want to make sure that if somebody's trying to reach out to you in the month of May, Taurus, keep a very open heart to it. Don't poo-poo it, when it comes in. Right? You really want to make sure that you're not getting in your own way. Okay, we have inner child stuff. This is very connected to the fourth house. It's a 16, which factors to a 7. Some sort of new cycle is starting. Inner child has very, very connected to Chiron. Chiron is in those last degrees of the 12th house. Where might you feel like you got the lousy ends of the stick? Where might you feel like you're just so petrified to begin this new path? Even if it's not a whole new path, it's something. There's something new coming in. If you're not moving, it's a new job. It's just some sort of something new, some sort of new chapter. Look at this, friends. Come on now. We have help from above. Lovely. Beautiful. 27 factors 2 and 9. We love that. It's the energy through which God speaks to us. The center card is healing. So if you're dealing with any sort of situation that's going on, having to do with your health, having to do with perhaps a sick sibling, because 21 factors 2 or 3, which is the third house, that's a Geminian house, it's where our siblings live. Um, there could be healing around communications, conversations that you need to have, anything having to do with writing, teaching, could be healing having to do with that. But it's all around this idea of ultimately having the tough conversations, about how you feel trapped. I'm feeling very pushed to just, I love this energy because this is like, think of what you're afraid of. And that's exactly the direction that you should be going in. It's almost like you have to. That's going to be part of your healing. So if it's scary to you, that's a sign that that's probably what you should be doing. Because if it's just like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I don't want to, and fill in the blank. I'm too afraid to forgive that person. Now, there's always a caveat, right? Where that energy, because with Saturn in the 12th house, he doesn't want to know about anybody who was taking advantage of you, who didn't appreciate you, all of that. Outside of that, really getting very serious though about having the conversation with that old friend, the person that is from your past, right? Really healing that inner fear that I'm not good enough energy, I'm not deserving of the good things. You know, it hasn't been easy, you know. It hasn't been easy having Uranus in your sign. Now he's out, right? He's newly out, so he's still, there's still like a sub narrative of him, in the later degrees of that Taurus house, but he's out for the most part. Now we need to have the change, but you can't be afraid. You have to face it, you know. You're being blessed. There's really good energy on your side here, so don't be afraid. All right, my friends. I hope this was helpful, Taurus, in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Gemini. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's pull a spread for you guys and see what we get. Um, we do have that South Node. The nodes, by the way, are retrograde right now, and they're in your fourth house, 10th house axis. So as I just feel like there's a lot of like, what do we want to say? Very uneasy energy when it comes to being able to just like chill out and relax at home. There's this need, like you feel like something needs to be either reframed, restructured, released. When it comes to your home energy, maybe you want to move, or you're really feeling very itchy about redoing something like that, right? But that, because with that Uranus so new in the early degrees of your first house, it's beginning. And the thing is, when he first goes in, you just want to be a little careful because um Venus is going to be in a dead heat opposition with Black Moon Lilith retrograde between houses 1 and 7, between your house of self and the path that you're walking on. And Venus is about love and it's about money and it's about being able to manifest for yourself, being able to open yourself up for new opportunities, create new opportunities. I just don't like the word manifest because manifest means that, you just open your energies and everything comes to you. I, it's just not like that, guys. It's not, right? We have to act on it. We're human beings with choice. And if we're just gonna like lay there and wait for everything to come to, no, no, no. We have to have intention and we have to be assertive when the energies are supportive of us, right? And Uranus in that first house really wants you to go after new. And with that Venus energy, it's something that's going to be able to grow you. Now it's opposing your seventh house with Black Moon Lilith in there. So how many of you are maybe doing something on the day-to-day at work that is just not working for you anymore, but you keep doing it anyway? And because Black Moon Lilith is retrograde in Sagittarius, it's like you're keeping yourself stuck. And it's not because that's, oh, I feel like doing this. It's like you genuinely can't see what it is that you're supposed to be doing. It's just super hard for you to be able to identify it wholly so right now, right? And that makes sense because Neptune's in Aries with Mars. It's going to be happening. I do promise you that. But for you to not see that clear path right now, that's a real energy that's going on here. So let's see what the cards have to say. Some seeds for thought. Okay, so starting out with the Seven of Pentacles, right? You guys are really working hard. You're being responsible. You're doing what you have to do. You realize, you have to be patient in order to manifest something that it is that you really, really want. Challenging that is the Knight of Wands, exactly as I was just discussing. It's like, okay, how do I do that? Because the Knight of Wands is like, come on, let's go this way. This is exactly what I want. This is exactly the direction that we have to go in, right? Wands is passion, it's motivation. This could represent a new job, it can represent a new relationship, a new family, something that gets your blood going, that you just feel really, really good about, right? And this is challenging right now. So you're being very patient, you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, you're doing you, da da da. But you want more, right? I mean, and this is the thing. It's like, oh my God, but what is it exactly, right? So we have the Two of Pentacles in that base position. And then we have the top position is Temperance. Let's open the spread and then we'll get into it. The King of Wands. Okay. This is the energy leading into this. Absolutely wanting to get better control over your life. We have the beautiful Emperor. This is very Aries energy, making sure that we're not having any sort of analysis paralysis about what that next step should be. Things like imposter syndrome could be showing up with an energy like this. We do have this card that's showing up for you right now, Gem, is the Hierophant. So you're all about like, this is so interesting for me because you're changing. There's something that's just changing, you know? Because the thing is this, the Hierophant is very connected to this idea of stability, right? And, societal norms and expectations and what it is that we're supposed to be doing, right? How we're supposed to grow, what we're supposed to be going after, right? What religion we're supposed to follow, what kind of politics are we supposed to be jiving with right now? All of the, you know what I mean? Supposed to fill in the blank, right? But you have the Pluto energy in there, you know? And you have Juno in there with it as well. It's within a 4-degree conjunction in the ninth house, right? So change and transformation in what it is that you're committed to as you move forward. Now, in that ninth house, it's are you as committed to your marriage? Are you committed to um, that long distance trip, living in that foreign land, um, publishing that book? Uh, are you as committed to your political views? Are you as committed to your religion, organized or otherwise? Or are you changing in that area? There's some sort of change. Now, on a more personal level, very practical, for those of you who might be in some sort of legal situation and having to do with, like, for example, a divorce or some sort of situation having to do with a significant other, Pluto is in there making some changes, endings and beginnings. He wants to master something, right? He wants fairness. He appreciates fairness, especially if things hadn't been fair in the past. And then we have the High Priestess card, which does recommend somebody else. You have to be careful. Somebody's not telling you everything, Gemini. Somebody's keeping secrets from you because this is not you. This High Priestess is not you. This is somebody else. And the High Priestess has a lot going on between her ears, especially when it comes to the future. And she's just not talking, you know. Um, But this could also have to do with a significant other or somebody who's significant in your life. Doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, expecting you to keep some sort of secret. And you're really not feeling very comfortable with it at all. Because here you are, the Queen of Swords in your mental realm and your mental block. Queen of Swords is all about the truth. She is just putting down the emotions. And this is your challenge, though, is being able to disconnect yourself emotionally from something and just looking at the hardcore truth of a situation. But you're very confused in the month of May. That's very on brand for when Uranus goes right into your sign. So fret not, my friends. This too shall pass. But right now, having to do with the near future, you're very focused on some sort of new beginning for yourself. You might not have all the answers. The Emperor never does. The Emperor is the ultimate leadership energy, and a really good leader is an ideas person. They're not the person who implements everything. A good leader knows how to pick good people and get the work done that he dreams up, right? That's leadership. And that's the Emperor. Feeling very, very motivated to get something done. You're really thinking about your future, especially because your Aries energy is in your 11th house, Gem, right? And that's where you have Neptune and Saturn and Mars and Eris and Chiron. They're all in there. Palace of Venus in there. They're all in there. So you're very much thinking that, but when we have the Two of Swords, this is a Moon and Libra energy, right? So your emotions when it comes to any sort of Libra energy, so this could be a significant relationship. This could have to do with your job. This could have to do with your energetic output on the day to day. This could also have to do with an individual that you might be in some sort of legal entanglement with. You really want to watch out for yourself because there's something going on here where you really feel like you're not being treated very fairly. There's some sort of truth that you have to engage with. Now, that feeling could be connected to some sort of project where there's some sort of contract involved. Again, it could just be to a boss. It doesn't have to be a relationship, but I am vibing that you're in this space where you have to just say what's on your mind, just get it out, right? Because holding it in is not going to do it. But you're very much like, should I or shouldn't I? Should I stay in this relationship? Should I stay in this job? Should I continue doing what I'm doing on the day to day at work? Because I do feel like a lot of you are in this very interesting space where you want to just kind of bust out. You want to bust out. But yet you want to do it in a way where you're not coloring outside the lines, Jem. Do you know what I mean? You guys know how to color outside the lines, but you don't want to do that. You want to do what makes sense. You want to do the right thing. Because we go through some seasons in our life where we really don't care. We really don't care quite as much about doing the right thing. Not that we're breaking the law or anything, but it means, where we're leaning a little more into, if it makes me feel good, then it's good for me kind of thing. That's not the kind of vibe I'm getting here. I'm not, you know, wanting to do the right thing. That Pluto in the ninth house is really can really motivate you to go through cycles of that. What is the right thing after all, right? I mean, you're doing a lot of changing having to do with your worldview, right? But let's pull some oracles. We have some sadness going on here. All right, part of the human condition. Not a big deal. Don't get hung up on that. But there is sadness here, and it's being clarified by procrastination. Yeah, what did I say before at the beginning? Analysis paralysis. There's something I feel like that you want to do, but it's like you're either being prevented from doing it or you're too scared to get it started. But there's this thing. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's see. Center card is your soulmate. Now, what is a soulmate? Those of you who've been watching me for a while now, I really don't like any of that, like twin flame soulmate stuff. Because look, soulmates, twin flame, they're in our life typically for a reason, a season, and not always a lifetime, right? Now, this is not always simply a relationship, right? If you look at the soulmate number, it's 14, which factors to a 5. 5 is anything or anyone that makes us happy. It's anything that we feel creatively connected to, on a soul level connected to. It could be our children, it could be a relationship, it could be a career, a business, something that we have this very deep soul connection to. Doesn't necessarily have to be a person, okay? But there is this idea that your soul matters and it matters very loudly to you right now because if something doesn't feel, it's like your meter is really turned up right now. Again, Uranus in your sign makes you very electric. When I say electric and sensitive, it's kind of two different things, right? You're very perceptive, right? Everything is sort of like on edge, catching everything, right? Nothing really gets past your radar here. Beautiful alchemy, all about blending something. Because I will tell you one thing, I'm getting very strongly, Jem. Whatever it is that you're going into, it shouldn't just be like one thing. So how do I explain that, what I'm feeling? So for example, going getting like a full-time job where you're working like 50 hours a week, and that's the only game in town, that's all you're doing, you're better off doing like 2 or 3 part-time jobs, right? That's very alchemical. Um, an alchemical energy could also be, right, you're in a relationship, and your whole relationship, your whole life is all about that relationship. It's not about getting rid of the relationship, but just understanding that you can't keep forgetting yourself in life. So blending, right, again, alchemical is all about blending things. So maybe starting something that makes you genuinely happy, and then you can feel like, realize that you show up much differently in your own relationship because you're doing something that makes you really happy, right? It's that kind of thing. Your soul is just screaming like, hey, remember me? Jen, look, Phoenix rising, beautiful energy. So good. Something new coming in. I don't feel like it's like right now, but I do feel over the course of 2026, but it's starting in May. It's a very good month, right? It really is a good month, even if you're not feeling it immediately, for wrapping things up, for planning, for creating ideas, for getting things going over the next few months, right? I'm really getting ready for that second eclipse season, which is going to be hitting us the end of August into September. Lots of new energy then. I'll do a separate video on that. By then, the nodes are going to be changing. Jupiter's going to be in Leo. We're going to have a lot of different energy by then. But there's definitely something new that's coming in, and I want you to feel excited about it. And Jen, with the procrastination, even if you just give yourself 10, 15 minutes a day and you say, this 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to do some research, or I'm going to write, or I'm going to look for the job, or I'm going to just sit and think. I'm going to do something that's good for me when it comes to how I can be better, a better version of myself as I move forward, whatever that means for you. Okay. So that is what I have for you, my friends. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Jem, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Hi, Cancer. I hope you guys are doing great. So let's pull your spread. Let's see what's going on for our beautiful little sensitive crabs right now. Totally get it. Feeling a little reactive perhaps these days. It's not an easy pass having Uranus in the 12th house, guys. It's just not, You have to understand that. You also have Neptune and Saturn in that 10th house, which is an angular house. So, this kind of different kind of energy that could be impacting your ability to feel emotionally safe, emotionally secure. But let's see what the card said. You're showing up as the Chariot. You got your own card, which is always good to see, right? The Chariot it's connected to Cancer. It's moving away from the toxicity, the toxic mindset, the toxic relationship, the toxic job, just the way of living, maybe moving away from the addiction, the negative way of thinking, getting super honest with yourself. But some of you can very much be wanting to move away from something that's been really tricky. Now, we do have the Eight of Wands, which is crossing you right now. So this is a challenge. And the Eight of Wands is certain conversations coming in a healthy way, right? Feeling a very firm foundation at home, feeling very like the structure of your life, everything's in place. Now, what's interesting here with the Eight of Wands is everything may very well be in place. And you may be communicating and connecting with people and, feel good about, your home, but there's something going on here. And I do feel like it's connected to another energy. Now, that energy could be having to do with intimacy, shared resources, some sort of shared life view, debt, taxes, some sort of settlement. So, because you're not the only one that's here, but it's moving away from some sort of toxic, and dare I say, restrictive. There's something restrictive that you're realizing that you've been feeling, right? Ooh, we got the World's card. Yeah, look at that. Yep, we got the Eight of Swords. Yeah, there's something that like you're just trying to shake off in a very real way when it comes to a situation because the Eight of Swords is just feeling like nothing's ever going to change. It's always going to be like this, right? It's the energy coming into May. Nothing's ever going to change. I try to have the conversation, it always ends up in the same spot, right? It's not, but it's also not recognizing where there is truly an ability to fix something. And that's the message, really with the Eight of Swords, it's like self-imposed imprisonment, you know, you feeling like there's no other way of looking at a situation. It has to be like this. This is the way it's gonna be. This is the way it's been, and there's no other way for it to be. I have no other option. I have no choice. I'm just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. And I do have to tell you that with the Chariot, that's just no. You have to say something. It's because with the Chariot, it's not even about the facts of a situation. It's more about how it is that you feel about that family situation, that home situation, your ability to feel emotionally safe and secure in something. And having the wands, right? Challenge you, the Eight of Wands. Maybe you're not getting the phone call in that you've been waiting on. Maybe you've been waiting for a new job and you're just not getting it. But so you feel very caught between worlds because you don't want to keep doing what you've been doing. You know something needs to change. You've been putting your energy into trying to change it the best that you know how for the moment. But because nothing's coming in and the change isn't really being felt, and you're very exhausted because of all of that, going into this space where it's never really going to change anyway. But we have the Knight of Cups in the foundational energy, which is something coming in, right? You're thinking of new ideas. You understand this is a good thing because this tells me that you're open, right? I said in another part of the video, people always talk about manifesting. I understand what all of it is. Obviously, you energetically, you bring things to yourself. Okay. We have to act, though. We must act with true intention, right? And the Knight of Cups does indicate something coming in. This could be an offer within a relationship. This could be an offer when it comes to a settlement, an offer having to do with a job. There's some sort of offer here that you feel like the subtext of it is only if that part comes in, then everything else will fall into place, right? Because in your conscious mind, we do have the World's card, which is Saturn, is recognition. You've been working really hard and you've gone through a lot. And now it's time to reap those rewards. And it's coming in. You got the World's card. Everything's going to be absolutely fine, Cancer. But you just have to be patient with it. I know you've been patient. This is asking for a little bit more. Because right now we have the Two of Swords for you, right? The Two of Swords, whenever we have a two, right, there's always this idea of a choice being needing to be made. Now, this is a Moon and Libra energy, and the Moon is very vulnerable and it's changeable. And Libra energy is very connected to our most important relationships, our marriage contracts, our work contracts. It's also our energetic output at work. So some of you, maybe your relationship's great. You have no real problem really with anybody. But if you sit down, you're really honest with yourself about what you do on your day to day at work, your forward facing work, you're not feeling very fulfilled. That could be the Moon and Libra. Like, I'm not sure. Should I do this? Should I do that? What is my truth? Because swords are truth. But there is this very strong desire to speak your piece, to say what's on your heart, to say what's on your mind, but you're afraid because you don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. You don't want to do that. Totally get it. However, that's the advice of this card is just say it. Throw it out on the table and just see where it lands. Because when we're dealing with the Two of Swords, the situation is not going away on its own. It has to be communicated because the energies that are on the other side of this, they are not as in the know as you think they are. And so you need to enlighten them a little bit about what it is that you're really feeling. Now, the energy surrounding you right now is the Knight of Swords. So you may be getting a lot of like truth bombs right now, from somebody else. Somebody may be coming in and expecting things from you, requesting things from you. This could be a busy big ask energy. So you might be feeling very like something is being asked of you that you're just not sure if you should trust it, right? Because what's interesting about the Knight of Swords is the Knight of Swords can very easily tell you what you want to hear in the moment, but they might not always walk their talk. That doesn't, I'm not suggesting that that means automatic malice, because it's not like that sometimes. In the moment, they may genuinely believe what they're saying. So just be mindful, because this isn't you. This is an outside energy. So if you're getting that job offer, make sure you really read in between the lines, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions, because they may be saying what they think the truth is, and they might not even have all of the information. Same goes if you're meeting somebody new in relationship, whoever it is that you're speaking with. Whenever we're dealing with a knight, we do want to just make sure, especially with the swords, that this person is walking their talk, because I do sense there's a lot of trust challenges that are happening right now. Totally normal when you have Pluto in the eighth house right now, as this is showing up as your psychological block. The Queen of Cups is Cancer and Gemini energy, like having the conversation about what you need to feel emotionally secure, where you want to live, how you want that to look, some sort of circumstance going on with home, property, real estate, any kind of situation like that. This is in your mental block. So you may be rather confused about something going on, just legit having to do with a home situation. Because again, Saturn and Neptune opposing the fourth house for you, there could be some like confusion and like, what should the next step be? And, I'm doing this, but is this what I really want? I'm not sure what I really want. There could be confusion, but you're starting to come out of the confusion. You're going to start to see things differently. Also, if it's not connected to home, property, real estate, this could just be your emotional security and stability. Now, in the near future, we do have the wheel. The wheel is a good energy. If you and a partner, maybe you guys have broken up or you've taken some sort of agreed time apart because you need to work on your stuff, they need to work on theirs, whatever. Given that it wasn't toxic, this can absolutely indicate, a relationship coming back around, a work opportunity coming back around, because it's the wheel, right? What goes around comes around, very connected to Jupiter, very connected to that North Node in Pisces right now with Estrella and Vesta and the transiting midheaven, all of that stuff in the ninth house. So messages of growth are coming in, messages of growth when it comes to, love, and when it comes to, you know, feeling supported, all of that. But in Pisces, you just want to understand that um, there's got to be this push to being very open, not one-sided, lots of honesty, right? Lots of honesty. Honesty has to be a thing here, otherwise Jupiter will not bless it. Okay. And sometimes the truth is scary, especially if we know that we've been acting a little messy, right? We have to own it. We all get messy sometimes. All of us, Cancer. Overreacting, maybe not being the best version of ourselves. Let's just call it what it is. You don't have to act like that didn't happen, but you could say, look, I was in a bad place. I feel terrible that A, B, and C happen. Or having a conversation with somebody else, if you are on the receiving end of that, say, it's really important to me that you acknowledge how you've treated me, and having that open conversation in a very Queen of Swords way. Because Queen of Swords doesn't care about emotions. Queen of Swords really doesn't. She sticks with facts. So you have to understand that if somebody is not coming in, and I know this is difficult as a Cancer, because the moon ruling your chart, your emotional body rules you, right? And it's not that you're not incapable, you're more than capable of recognizing facts and the reality of something. It's not to say that, but that's typically, if something doesn't feel right to you, it's very difficult for you to get on board with it. Now, this month, you're being asked especially with Black Moon Lilith retrograde in Sagittarius in the sixth house, you're being asked when it comes to your day to day, when it comes to your work environment, when it comes to your health, when it comes to what's good for you, mental, physical, and emotional. There has to be a lot of honesty with self, lots of honesty there, sticking with the facts of what happened, sticking with the paperwork, sticking with the solid set offers, not anything emotional, airy-fairy, or non-concrete. Okay? It's not a good month for that. It's just not okay. You guys are doing a lot of changing, behind the scenes with that Uranus energy in the 12th. Very private, deep, real changes going on in that space for you guys. So we do have pride. So maybe there was some sort of situation where your pride got the better of you, or you're dealing with another energy where pride got the better of them. Whatever it is, pride was a situation here, right? We don't want pride, right? Pride's not a good thing. It never is. To feel proud of something is different than being prideful. And then we have the victim consciousness, feeling like the victim, And this is not to say that maybe certain things have been going, haven't been, it's not to say that things haven't been going on that have been challenging to you, but staying in that space there's no value add as you move forward. None at all. You have to have the conversation. Center card is self-love. Really understanding you've got to love yourself. If you love yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Honestly, we have sexuality and saying what you mean. So it's going to be very connected to a relationship, something that drives you very passionately. The sexuality is very connected to like a scorpionic energy, so this could have to do with literal, obviously sex and intimacy, shared resources, um, shared worldview. It could have to do with some sort of legal situation that includes somebody else's money. But there's got to be this saying what it is that you really feel about that said situation, about the intimacy, about the connection, about the finances within the situation. You have to say what it is that you mean, because it's through that you're actually exercising self-love, you know? Whether you genuinely believe that you were a victim in a situation is almost besides the point in the energy that I'm getting here. Because maybe you were, but now it's time to actually change the lens through which you're looking. You need to change that lens. It's super important, particularly with that South Node in those very early degrees now of the third house for you, the house of communication and thinking and speaking. Yeah. All right, my friends, this is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Hi, Leo. I hope you guys are doing great today. So let's see what kinds of energies we have for you guys. Let's see. I feel like for a lot of you, this is kind of like a heavy relationship month, I feel like. For a lot of you, just because of the Pluto energy, the way it's being activated in your 8th house. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so we have the 8 of Wands in reverse. Okay, let's just open the spread and see what we get. We have the Hierophant and the Death. We have 2 major arcanas here. Okay, so let's look at this for a second. Okay, very powerful, very transitional spread here. Turning points, delays though, some delays and finally forcing some sort of change, some sort of relationship or financial imbalance or some sort of inner restriction that's being recognized. But it does feel like it's the closing of a bit of a painful chapter so that something else can begin here. But it's intense, but it's not all doom and gloom, guys. It's not. It's just, it's about truth. It's about endings. It's about liberation as well, right? I mean, this is this Eight of Wands in reverse, right? That's starting us out here. This is often, takes us to this space of like information coming in, right? Things trying to be presented to us from other people, strong foundation kind of energy. Um, these are all things that are being very easily manifested here. But it is showing us this some sort of information though that you want to come in. It does seem like some sort of information that wants to come in, but there's a stuckness with the information coming in. You're just not able to do it. And the wheel, some of you may be very still connected to somebody from your past. We have the wheel is challenging you here. Okay, so when we have the wheel challenging us for, well, a lot of times it comes up as, simply somebody from our past that's just kind of lingering in our mind. Um, this could have to do with somebody who you would like to speak to again, perhaps hearing from somebody, something coming back around, some sort of situation coming back around, right? And we have coming into this, we have the Four of Coins. I mean, the Six of Coins, rather. So the Six of Coins is about feeling financially supported. It's not only finances, it's mentally, physically, and emotionally as well, right? But it's this idea of feeling appreciated. Maybe you got someone in the family helped you out with money, or maybe you're working more, you're making more money, you're feeling appreciated. This could indicate a conversation where you're feeling very appreciated, where you weren't before. But we have the Hierophant as the foundational card. So a lot of you may be like the foundation of everything right now is your most important relationships. For many of you, if you're not in a relationship, for whatever reason right now, your most important thing in your life happens to be like politics, or it could be something going on with your religion. Perhaps you're looking to get something published, something marketed, something out there, getting something out there to the world. But we have the Death card. Now, the Death card is what's on your mind. So you're definitely thinking about change and transformation. And this is a Pluto energy, and Pluto is in your seventh house. Seventh house is not only marriage, guys, it's also your boss. It has to do with your energetic output at work. It has to do with anything that where there's a contract, whether it's literal or metaphorical, there's an ending here. Some of you, and through another lens, some of you may have found out that you have to move because of work. Some of you may be in the space of desiring a move, but there's this change that's very much here. Now, some of you, if it has to do with relationship, you may be taking a break. Maybe or you feel like you need to take a break. And understand that if the core of the relationship is good, you guys will probably circle back to each other at some point, but not until everyone sort of looks at their stuff. But there is this transformative kind of energy. Now, if you're dealing with somebody who's all about going through the transformation with you, awesome. Then you don't have to actually have that separation. But sometimes, right, there needs to be a certain degree of separation so that there could be some progress made, right, on self. But it does seem like it's connected to this idea of Five of Coins, which is feeling very unsupported. So maybe someone is not contributing enough money, right? A very literal interpretation would be someone is not, there is more support here than you realize. You have more than you realize here, but there's like not enough for what it is. So you're just not feeling very partnered. You're not feeling very supported. So maybe you're getting a salary, but it's not enough for you to feel comfortable, right? I mean, and it's legit. It's not like you aren't making enough and you just kind of not feeling it, right? It's this is like legit, not feeling supported at work, not feeling supported in your relationships, not feeling supported in one way or another. Now, an energy that's surrounding you, we have the Three of Wands, and so I feel like you're dealing with an energy that's just so future focused, and they're focused on the future, and they don't even want to talk about the past. They don't want to look at the past. They're just very, focused on their feelings, first of all, and very focused on the future. They don't want to turn around and look at the past. They don't want to turn around and acknowledge anything there. For them, it's not helpful right now in their mind. But your challenge here is the Emperor, right? This is your block. So the Emperor is Aries, and Aries is all about, taking the bull by the horns and saying, "Come on, let's go." I don't know how I'm gonna, I'm not, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. It's brave. It's fortuitous. It's like last man standing. Let's go after that thing already. You're having a hard time with that. Now, you may be having a hard time because this is very deep in your mental realm. You may be having a very hard time figuring out what does that even mean, a new beginning, a fresh path, doing something different than what I'm doing now. It's hard for you to, just right now, just right now, being able to imagine how to create that different, that it does seem like you're very, very deeply craving because Leo, it just feels like you're in this space right now because this is your near future, feeling like it's never going to change. It's just always going to be like this. But this is a self-imposed prison. This things can absolutely change, but it's going to require that you are brave enough to actually do what needs to be done in order to have a different type of future. Now, again, that does not mean you're getting divorced or you're quitting your job. It doesn't mean that something has to end, but it means that two things have to be going on here. One, whatever the energy outside of yourself is, be it a significant other, a best friend, a boss, whatever, they have to be in the know when it comes to what's troubling you and what you feel like needs to change. Now, I deeply sense here that the conversations have happened. Then we go into, okay, if this is the reality, then how could I change my lens to make this a little more comfortable? And if I do that, am I sacrificing myself and my self-respect and everything that I believe by staying? Or is there a way that maybe you could see like your role in it, like you change a little bit and then maybe they change a little bit for something to happen? But the Eight of Swords does not, what it tells me, this card should be telling us here, is that something is going to keep remaining the same way if we only blame the other person or if we only blame the outside situation. We really have to look at ourselves with this card as well and look at how we contribute to the feeling, right? That's happening. How are we showing up in the relationship? How connected and committed have we been showing up to the job, in the friendship, right? Whatever it is, up to this point, you know, because we do have the Ten of Swords, one sword at a time over time, and it's just like something's got to be done. It can't continue, it can't. Ten of Swords a lot of times can also indicate finding out that there's been a lot of gossip going on about you. Somebody's talking about you behind your back, whether it's within the family or whether it has to do with, a work situation, whatever it is, there is this communication and it's hurtful. So it's painful communication here. So perhaps it's an argument. But I don't feel like it's just like one big argument. It's a lot of little more, because each of these swords is an argument, you know what I'm saying? And then it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, you know what? I can't. It's like It's that kind of thing. But you have the Emperor showing up anyway, even though it's in your challenge. So this tells me you know what needs to be done. You know what needs to be said. You do know. But what's the dealio with the fear here, Leo? There's so much fear of the other side of all of this. So much fear here. Discover your life purpose. Oh, come on. How beautiful is that? Let's get two and then a center card. Wild, leaning into the very thing that's scaring you. Yeah, because I feel like you know exactly what you have to do. But you're also coming up with a very long list of why you can't do it or you don't want to do it or whatever the case is. And I know that's not easy to hear, but that coming across very, very strong. The center card is sexual art. So listen, I mean, you might be realizing this is a very powerful card because this could indicate some of you might be thinking about straying in a relationship, but it could also just simply mean this acknowledgement that you don't feel seen and heard when it comes to your sensuality and your sexuality, and you just don't feel recognized as a sensual and sexual being, right? So maybe you have fallen into that rut of like friendship, or maybe it's even on you, maybe it's just like you're not feeling it anymore, so it's just different, right? You might just be thinking about someone else, or maybe no one in particular, just, fantasizing about that feeling again for those of you who are in relationship. And if you're not in relationship, you might become very mindful of that part of yourself that you just don't feel has been getting enough attention. You know what I mean? Recently. Self-love. These are the two outcome energies. We have temptation is involved in this mix. I was vibing that before. Hmm. Listen, I mean, sometimes, right? I mean, human beings are like flowers, right? We thrive in the sunshine and we wilt in the shade. So when we're not getting enough attention, when we're not getting enough recognition, I'm not saying that that's a reason to stray, to actually follow through, but it is certainly sensible, considering the human condition, that you would start to feel that emptiness in there. And then that root, that could grow out into, lashing out, having to do with other things, obviously. Because if you don't feel connected and appreciated and loved in the deepest part of your life, it's very difficult to feel fulfilled. Now, if it's by choice, that's a totally different ball game. And I honestly don't think that that's if this is totally by choice, this is not your reading. Right? Not every reading is for everyone watching, right? This is for somebody who's feeling very, very thirsty in that area, and they are just not having their needs met. But again, you may even be in a space where it's like, look, I'd rather that person not even, my partner not even touch me. I'd rather, no, thank you. And not to be mean, but it just may be where you guys are at this point. But yet you're craving it. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is coming across very clear to me. So someone needed to hear this. There's a lot of like temptation going on. There's got to be conversation about this, guys. You have to speak to a partner if this is where you're at right now. Um, and if you're somebody who's just keeping yourself the hell away from everyone and not allowing yourself in relationship, but you're feeling this way, start taking the chance, right? Get out there. And scary, I get it, but I mean, allowing yourself to open up to people. Yeah. Okay, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. Take care, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Virgo. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's go right into your section of the reading. Let's see what's going on right now. Okay. Five of Pentacles. Ace of Swords. Wands. These all a little bit. Okay, so we have we have the Strength energy, we have the Emperor, we have the Moon, so we have a couple of major arcanas here. Main card here, we have a Five of Coins. So I just feel like you guys are moving through this period of stress, uncertainty, just not feeling very supported, but you're stronger than the situation. Clarity is coming, but it might be through some sort of like conflict. I just feel like a lot of you feel like you've been carrying some sort of burden very quietly with this energy, emotionally, financially, relationally. But it's like it's a heaviness, right? There's this heaviness about it. And yeah, that does seem like there's some sort of like turning point. So this Five of Pentacles just being crossed by the Ace of Swords. The five at the center, I mean, this tells me like you're feeling some sort of lack, exclusion, some sort of like loneliness, worry, some sort of instability. This can literally be just financial stress, but a lot of times for some of you, maybe it's emotional. Well, maybe it's both, right? This idea of like feeling left out, not feeling very supported. Maybe some of you are feeling like kind of abandoned, if that makes sense. But there's this anxiety that's coming across here about your security. And with the cross with the Ace of Swords, this is pretty powerful because this means that the challenge and the solution are both kind of like tied to a sword energy, which is truth and clarity and communication and some sort of mental breakthrough. So something has to be seen very clearly now, right? Illusions have to be cut away. A conversation, or for some of you, a decision, a realization, or some sort of boundary is very necessary. So you may be in pain partly because something has gone unspoken or unresolved in some way. Um, and then we have the Two of Swords here. I just feel like recently, for a lot of you, there was some sort of avoidance or some sort of indecision or um, some sort of emotional stalemate, right? Because the Two of Swords is a Moon and Libra energy. So this emotional stalemate energy. You have to say what's on your mind. The thing is, if you don't speak in the Two of Swords energy, it's not going to self-correct, if that makes sense, right? Um, but something, and you know this though, right? And you know that something needs to change, but you haven't wanted to face it yet, right? This is in the recent past. So there may have been some sort of difficult choice where you're recognizing that neither option really feels very easy. So a lot of times this can show that, that we can pretend that keep pretending that we don't see it. Right? When it comes to especially some sort of a Libra situation, which would be a situation with a boss or bosses, or a situation having to do with the deep commitment, or a person that you're in some sort of legal situation with, right? These are all seventh house things. Seventh house could also be a doctor. So maybe some sort of situations going on with a doctor. But there's like this root cause here, right? Having to do with the Queen of Pentacles reverse. Nonetheless, underneath everything that you're feeling right now is total depletion. You're just feeling really tired, right? Because the Queen of Pentacles, when she's reversed, most of the time she shows up when, you know, to indicate this like feeling like you've given too much to others, recognizing that you haven't been paying enough attention to yourself, right? I mean, because it's absolute exhaustion, insecurity also. It's this idea of over functioning, which you guys have to be careful of, right? As Virgos, you tend to do that. Could also indicate financial stress and just generally speaking, for a lot of you, a loss of confidence, in your own worth. So this does tell me that there's some sort of deeper issue is going on. It's not only like your current problem that you're feeling right now, right? It's that you might be running like on empty. Do you know what I mean? Just like can't do it anymore. Because then we have the moon, and the moon is showing me some confusion here, right? And that's the thing with the moon. The moon is moody. It's like one way and then it's another, right? So the moon a lot of times represents this idea of vulnerability and confusion and anxiety and very strong intuition at the same time, but these hidden truths and just kind of feeling this emotional fog and this fear of the unknown. So you likely sense it, you're vibing that something is off, but you don't yet have full proof or certainty that like what's actually off with that person or that situation. Do you know what I mean? The deal with your boss, the deal in that relationship or a family member, something's off, right? And you're vibing it here. And this card says, trust your instincts. Don't let your fears, though, invent stories, right? That's just something that you want to be careful of. But we have this emperor energy here, right? That's representing you, right? It's a very strong force here. Um, Now the emperor energy, this is the position of you. Now this could be you um dealing with an emperor energy as well. So dealing with a boss, this could be you wanting to be your own boss, but this could be you dealing with a father energy or some sort of figure. This could be an ex-partner as well, some sort of authority or institution or anyone who's like rigidly controlled the structures of your life, right? In one way or another, right? It could even be a family member, anything like that, but you're very sensitive to it now. So this could be very stabilizing or oppressive, depending on the context, right? Depending on how it is that you're understanding it. So some of you could be feeling very motivated because the Emperor is very motivated, it's very Aries energy, right? Very motivated to, get on this fresh path, new perspective, start something new, try something new. Um, but on the other hand, you could also, and even simultaneously, feel like someone wants to control you, or maybe they are controlling you, having to do with like rules and dominance and order, and oh, you got to do things this way, and this has to be your schedule, and this is the way that it has to be. And that could be a real challenge here. Now, the external energy, we have the Six of Pentacles. So the Six of Pentacles is energy surrounding you. Here you're dealing with somebody who is really trying to focus on, in their mind anyway, balance, fairness, this idea of giving, receiving, right? And so they could be focused on this, right? Where they could be wondering, are they giving you too much? Are they not giving you enough? Is this relationship too one-sided? Why do I feel indebted to this person who has the power here? So you might be dealing with an outside energy who's you're at least vibing if they're not directly saying this. There's an energy of entitlement, but Virgo, I have to tell you, I'm getting like there is an element of like, that they're not wrong for thinking this. This is a minor arcana. It's not a big deal. That's the thing, because in this energy too, this could even be somebody coming in and offering to help you out. But something about it makes you super uncomfortable. You're very uncomfortable, right? Um, yeah. I mean, this Five of Wands, this is in this like mental block position. Conflict is coming, right? Or at least you feel like it is. Right? It's not a disaster. Don't worry about it. It's only minor arcana. But this means tension, it means competition, it means disagreements, it means friction, egos clashing, you know what I mean? Like having to stand your ground kind of thing. But this is in your mental block. This is what you're concerned about. But the thing is, this doesn't have to be a bad thing because The energy that I'm getting here is like if there is conflict, and some conflict is really healthy conflict, it could end up clearing the air, after some initial stress, right? Even if there's some like pushback after you start speaking your truth, right? Having that difficult conversation, but there could be some stress, right? I mean, we do have the nine of swords. This is like not responding well to the external stress in the near future, right? People saying things, whatever. It's like waking up in the middle of the night. How am I going to solve this problem? I can't believe that happened with that conversation, or worrying, oh, I have to have that conversation, whatever it is. Now, the conversation can certainly, for some of you, because it's a strength energy. Strength energy is Leo. Leo energy is the landlord of the fifth house, which rules our children. So this could be this difficult energy could be having to do with something with one of your kids, if not having this difficult exchange that I'm discussing here with one of your kids. But it does tell me that you're going to overcome this through very calm courage, right? Lots of emotional maturity should be exercised here, some patience, some inner power, not through force, right? You want to be the cool head in the room, right? Because this is an energy of mastering fear and taming the chaos and trusting yourself again, right? So this is what you have to say, tell yourself like I'm better and bigger than this particular situation. So from what I see here, I do feel like you guys are going to become stronger than whatever the situation is that's stressing you. You're going to regain confidence. You're going to handle the difficult person or whatever situation it is gracefully. Even if it feels really difficult to do that initially, but you're just going to stop letting fear run the story. So, right now, you might feel really worn down and anxious and uncertain, and a lot of you, I'm just getting a very strong, like, unsupported vibe here. But just the whole spread is saying that there's some real turning point coming where you stop minimizing what you know and you're going to start speaking honestly so that you can kind of rebalance where your energy goes. And I mean, that even goes for like people in any kind of situation. And even if conflict can come up here when you do this, but it ends up leading to liberation, right? So I don't want you to think that the energy of May is going to be forever. It's not. For those of you connecting to relationship, someone may be very emotionally unavailable or controlling or unequal in who's doing what, having to do like the effort, in the relationship. And you need clarity and you need boundaries. This could also, if it's not with a relationship, again, it could be a business partner or it can be one of your kids as well. If it's totally about work and money, there could be stress around resources or just being undervalued can be very highlighted this month, okay? A direct conversation can absolutely, especially having to do with a direct conversation about some sort of strategy, how something should actually roll out. Yeah, good. Yes, getting kind of serious here when it comes to those of you connecting to your joy and your happiness. I mean, there's like emotional healing going on here. Um, I mean, there's this like fear cycle and reclaiming self-trust that you're leaving. You know what I mean? Um, you're moving into a space of self-trust. You're moving out of fear, right? Because we have courage being followed by rejection. It's like, you know what? I have to at least try. Throwing my hat in the ring. And then you unleashing your creativity is the central card. Beautiful. It's funny because I feel like this has to do more with how you're approaching life on the outside. Then we have sexual arts and love. Like you're thinking about relationship and intimacy and how these things are ultimately impacting your life now or lack thereof. and feeling like some of you may not feel completely comfortable to get into a relationship or continue with a relationship because of something that's going on having to do with your career or your finances or something else, right? Where it is that you're living, some other situation. Or those other situations may be impacting your ability to feel very connected in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like the outside external circumstances have become so big that it's very difficult to even connect on that level. But this is going to pass. This is not going to stay a thing, right? So have the typical conversations this month. You're very supported here with the strength energy on the outside. You may be dealing with somebody who's got a bit of a big ego. So, okay, tell them what they need to hear. You want to really focus on the end goal, rather than in the moment kind of thing. Um, because the difficult conversations are certainly going to pay off this month for you guys. So that is what I have for you, my friends. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Libra. I hope you guys are doing great. So let's see what we have for you guys for May. Messages, the month of May. I'm using, let's see what needed. Page of Fire. Okay. Oh, you guys are feeling very strongly about getting something else going, some sort of new beginning, some sort of new structure. New relationship, new chapter of your life. Maybe you're expecting a child, or you're getting married, or a new job. This is like you're feeling it very, very strongly here. You're feeling it very strongly. Transformation is the first card up. Being crossed by the Three of Earth. Yeah. Fine. Final outcome is the Sun. Very nice. We get the transformation to start. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like for a lot of you, there's a lot of change energy going on here. And a lot of it does have to do, just dipping into the astrology for a second, your seventh house is just so loaded up this month. You have Neptune and Pallas Athena and Saturn and the vertex and Mercury and Aries and Chiron. They're all in the seventh house. So there's this real kind of desire for, there's a lot of attention there. And with that sextiling Pluto, which is this transformation energy in the fifth house, it's being very motivated by that fifth house energy, having to do with children, having to do, so like the changes in the relationships are very connected to changes in the arena of children. Fifth house could be wanting to have your own business. The seventh house could be your boss and bosses, right? Making a decision to maybe go in your own direction, having to do with work. It could certainly be that. Anything that just brings you joy and happiness, right? Because this transformation card, it's very equivalent to like the death card, right? Deep change, release, rebirth, very Pluto-like process, right? Kind of shedding an old chapter or identity. And this is a very intense spread, but I do want to say ultimately it's very positive because, at the center here, this transformation, especially as it's crossed by the Three of Pentacles here, it does say that you're in this major life shift, but the challenge is that the transformation may involve someone else. So it may involve some sort of, it could be cooperation or something having to do with work or community or rebuilding something with others. You may not be meant to do this entirely alone, right? This whole transformation thing. But You may also, at the same time, be realizing that certain partnerships, work dynamics, or even support systems need to change in your life right now, right? Because we're being crossed by this. Okay. Now, leading in, we have the messenger of water. I mean, you're really very much feeling, messenger of water is very connected to the idea of our emotions, right? I mean, it's how it is that we're feeling. This brings emotional news for some of you. Some of you, your intuition has likely been on fire, right? This could be an apology or some sort of heart-centered, very tender message, in the recent past coming into this, or you just may be consciously focused on emotional connection and healing and creativity, or just receiving some kind of meaningful communication. And if you're not getting that, it could just be like, hello, here I am, kind of thing. It could certainly be that. Now we have the hangman here, having this as the base energy. So you've been in this waiting period and you feel like you're in this waiting period still, feeling this bit of like suspension or delay or just this lack of clarity. But this pause that you may be feeling right now, right? This waiting period, there's actually a gift in it because it's giving you perspective, right? A lot of you maybe even have been in this space where you feel like on one level or another that you've had to surrender control, which was not comfortable, but surrender some kind of control before this next stage could reveal itself in any kind of like real way. And then just dealing with the three of fire at the top. I mean, deep down, like like your future is opening up. You're looking beyond your current circumstances. You sense that there is something better for you, that there's something more available to you, right? Because your spirit already knows a bigger horizon is coming with this energy. It just knows that, right? I mean, there's some kind of energy that's going on here. That three of fire is very like, I'm not focusing on the past. I want to go future. I don't want the future to be anything like the past. Take the good, throw out the bad kind of thing, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But we have this eight of water here as well. Very interesting, right? Very clear that you are emotionally ready to walk away from something that no longer feeds your soul. And this doesn't have to mean any sort of like big dramatic thing. It doesn't have to be like a dramatic departure, like I want a divorce or I'm quitting, whatever it is. But energetically, you are so done forcing yourself to stay attached to something that's just become empty. It's become empty. For a lot of you, it's become very confusing, very limiting at the same time, very limiting. And you just don't want to feel that way anymore. Now, the external energy, the messenger of air. Remember, air is all about truth here. So, conversation, quick developments. Again, this isn't you. This is an outside energy coming in with some sort of message, some sort of conversation. There's some sort of quick development here. Someone coming in with information. Now, this could be somebody who's speaking very, very matter-of-factly and super bluntly to you, and then they speak bluntly and then they act fast, or something that they say just completely triggers clarity in you. And this could also just indicate like something coming in that's just cutting through the fog, creating like a bit of an aha moment. Now, with the mental block having the five of air, some of you may know this is the five of swords in traditional decks. This does show me fear around conflict, and there's fear of betrayal and power games and arguments. And Libra, look, we know one thing about you guys. You guys do not like conflict, right? Wherever a Libra energy is, we really do not like conflict. We just don't. We don't like the power games. We don't like the arguments. You could be vibing that whoever this energy is, right? That they're trying to win. instead of really understand, right? So because of that, you may be worried that speaking your truth is going to create some kind of drama that you really don't want to deal with. Or you might even be, some of you may even be processing a situation where someone's words or choices that they made felt super unfair to you in one way or another. And I know that's very subjective, but they felt very unfair. Now, in the near future, we have the tower, and the tower means that something shakes loose, right? I mean, but it's this near future card, right? The sun is the final card, right? So the tower here is not going to destroy you, right? Because it's not the final card. Wait, this is the final card, is the sun. Okay. So it's here for purpose though, right? It's here to liberate something that's unstable, something that's just false to you or outdated. Something gets exposed here as well, or gets removed. Remember, we can't put it back together, right? Once that comes down. But it's something that was not meant to continue the way that it was continuing. You couldn't keep it going that way. You just couldn't. Now we have the sun. Beautiful. Clarity, joy, truth, warmth, obviously, success, renewed confidence, children, a business for some of you. Whatever falls apart or gets revealed in that tower energy is going to lead you into a much more honest and life-giving place, right? So to me, you're not just changing here, Libra, you're being released, right? I mean, we may have to walk away from some sort of old emotional attachment. Maybe it's a work arrangement, maybe it's simply a mindset or a collaboration, could be a relationship. Whatever it is, there may be this uncomfortable truth or conflict first, but the outcome is openness, it's happiness, it's visibility, it's relief. So don't be afraid of the tower there because it's clearing the path, for the sun. So you don't want to be afraid of that. Let's pull some oracles, see what we get here. Take off your mask. Powerful one. Let's pull two of these. Self-love. Take off your mask followed by self-love means really understanding that you haven't been feeling totally comfortable with yourself, within yourself, and it's time to change that. The center card clarifying that is courage. You have to be brave in order to do that. People who love you are going to love you no matter what, right? And nothing to be afraid of here. Two cards to consider are how sad you've been feeling. Libra, heavy sadness here, and that's being clarified by pride. Okay. Maybe not wanting to pull the trigger on something because you're afraid, like, what is it going to make me look like? Am I going to lose face? Am I going to, courage, self-love, be you. Beautiful energies there. That is what I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Libra. It looks good. Remember, the tower is clearing the path for the sun. Good stuff. All right. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Scorpio. Hope you guys are doing great. So let's pull a spread for you guys. Let's see what the month of May brings for you guys. See what we have here. It was starting with the Justice energy, so it could be an idea having to do with relationship, having to do with a boss, bosses, something having to do with your energetic output at work. Okay, crossing the Justice is Messenger of Air. I'll pull all of these up again. Base card is the Fool. Eight of Air on the top. The recent past is Messenger of Earth. Okay, the near future is Love. Very Leo energy. Okay, you right now, Eight of Earth, outside energy, Four of Air. Your message is coming in. Okay, your mental and emotional block are 10 of Earth, and the final outcome card is 10 of Air. So let's take a look here. It seems like there's some sort of like decision point where like truth and fairness and communication are all sort of forcing this kind of shift, right? Forcing some kind of shift. Definitely emphasizing like healing and surrender and some sort of soul growth rather than anything that's punitive, right? There's no punishment. I'm not really getting that here. But the Justice card, especially that it's crossed with the Messenger of Air. So these two together says like the main issue here is like fairness for you. Fairness, especially with this, having to do with relationships, having to do with truth. It could be legal or ethical clarity. Some sort of decision that needs to be made. But the challenge here is the communication, because someone may be, um, you know, giving you a lot of lip service. They may be speaking quickly. They may be speaking very like matter of fact. They may be speaking, you know what I mean, like very blunt, or they might be over intellectualizing some sort of very important communication that you guys are having. But whatever it is, the situation requires a lot of discernment here, Scorpio, because this can be about your seventh house energies, again, contracts, any sort of agreement, relationships, accountability within relationships, or accountability, even, it could even be your own accountability, because the seventh house is also your energetic output at work, right? So having this level of accountability, having to do with what it is that you give out, to the world of yourself each day, right? But it's this idea of like, what's actually fair? What's actually fair? Now, the messenger of Earth here in the recent past, things have been moving kind of slowly, very practically, kind of like because they've had to be this way. There may have even been, for you again, connected to this justice energy, like a relationship or job, there may have been like a cautious offer, or, you know, um, or a work or money concern, like especially, if something was discussed that was going to be a certain way, you might be vibing that things are changing, or someone might be trying to prove that they're reliable through their actions rather than their words in the recent past. But like there's something that you're not buying. There's something that you're not buying here, Scorpio. Because at the root of it, we have the Fool. And the Fool does show a new beginning underneath everything. And I just feel like you're very ready for that. Even if the situation feels very serious, your soul is trying to move into a new chapter. And there is this need for trust and openness and not dragging that old story into the new one. You just don't want to do that old story anymore. You're sick and tired of it. I'm tired of it. Yeah. Done. You've been doing it for a long time. And the energies that are changing are really just shifting your perspective, And having the Eight of Air here shows that mental atmosphere. This is your mental atmosphere in this position, right? Feeling trapped. You feel boxed in. You're overthinking. You're believing that there are fewer options than there really are, Scorpio, honestly. Because you're sitting there going, I don't know how to get out of this thing. I don't even know how to handle it. I'm not sure, even though a path totally exists. It's just a matter of you perhaps maybe not feeling totally comfortable getting on that path that can give you a way out of this particular situation. Now, we have the Eight of Earth, which is representing you here. So you're trying to do the right thing. You're totally trying to do the right thing. You're trying to improve. You're trying to work steadily. You're trying to master the lesson, whatever that is, handle the details. You're trying to take it as it comes, all those things. But you may be focused on doing your part really, really well, maybe even overdoing it to prove yourself, to prove why you're a good worker, why you're a great partner, why you're all of these things. Because there is this proving yourself kind of energy in this. Um, Now, the Eight of Earth can also bring in communication. Um, that sort of changes things, right? Because the Eight of Earth really wants this idea of stability, and you really want it, but it's almost like there's this proving that needs to go on. Now we have the Four of Air. This is an outside energy. This is not you. Four of Air is very quiet, very withdrawn and paused and healing and quiet, and stuff's going on here, right? I mean, you can have this individual in your life. They've taken up space, but they're not doing anything. They're not acting yet. They have to do a lot of thinking. They need to rest before they respond. So you're sitting here like waiting for that, you know. Now this can also show that the environment itself that you're in, generally right now when it comes to other people, is a waiting period. It's like you just feel like you're waiting for something to happen. And that's really tricky. Even if you're trying very difficult, in not difficult, if you're trying in a very committed way to manifest something for yourself without acting on it in a super responsible way, really difficult to do that. We don't talk about that enough. We can have a whole video on manifesting and how to attract, the law of attraction and attracting yourself. All of that is very interesting, and there's a really good point to all of it. But at the end of the day, unless we're willing to put ourselves out there and be assertive and open our own doors and go after things and not wait for these things to come to us. Do you know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're not kind of slipping into that space, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next. This is really an energy that I would say, the cards are suggesting don't be afraid to go after something. If you feel like you're stuck in a waiting period, to really look at that and see why, right? What is the block exactly? And do you have the power to actually do anything about it? And if you don't, really looking at how you can make changes here, because here in your block position, we have the Ten of Earth. And Ten of Earth does point to long-term security. It points to family and money and home and legacy and stability and marriage and love and property and what will happen in the long run after all. And you may be afraid that a choice affects your foundation and or your future comfort that you're making now, and you know it. So that's the thing. Like, just something to think about. Why are you keeping that quiet? You may not be keeping it quiet in your own mental realm, but like I don't see you really acting on it. Though I see this month being a big motivator because the near future is love. You know, this is love, which in other standard text, by the way, would be the lover's energy, which is about alignment and relationship choices and heart-centered decisions and choosing what's true for your soul. So this is a meaningful choice coming in, not just romantic, but about values and commitment and whether something genuinely fits. If it doesn't really fit, if they're not there for you, if there are conditions, Scorpio, no, no, no. You have the Ten of Air, ending a very painful mental cycle. Something reaches a completion, a stressful chapter. This is a fear pattern. This could, in the 3D, be an argument, but for you, some sort of old version of a story is done. It's done. You know, it could feel like betrayal. It could feel like collapse. It can, but you have to understand something. Energetically, like the worst is over. You are released from that old mental burden of whatever this was. So, really, I mean, this is about truth bringing a decision, and that decision bringing alignment, and alignment ending old pain. And there you go. I mean, you may be worried about security, but this is telling me that when you stop letting fear trap you and you choose what's fair and honest and heart aligned, that's where you win. That's where you're going to be winning. Pull some oracles. First one is beauty, clarified by procrastination. I get it. I totally get it. Sending you such a big hug, Scorpio. For whoever is resonating with this right now, there's such a stuckness. Things were promised, promises weren't kept. Things were presented one way, they're not that way. Sent a card, family and tribe. That's it. Focus on your people. They are the core. That's the center here. But ultimately, at the end of the day, under it all, you're feeling this hole in your soul. Totally get it. Soulmate. So listen, a soulmate does not have to be romantic, by the way. I mean, this could be the job that you thought, or that project, or, whatever it is that you thought was really connected to, was not bringing you what it was that you ultimately needed, right? As a person. So recognizing where you've been, kind of putting off, where you've been putting off, recognizing literally how amazing you are. Now, look, a lot of you are going to say, no, Jackie, I know I'm amazing. I know I'm great. And, this messy situation is not impacting me. I hope you all say that, because that's not what I'm getting here. Somebody needs to hear this, okay? Your people. Focus on your people. The people in your life, I don't care if it's one person. Focus on someone who you could just be yourself with. Open yourself up also, Scorpio, to meeting new people. Open yourself up. You have that South Node leaving the 11th house, going into the 10th house in the middle of July, but you have another few months with that South Node in the 11th house. It's like reframing. First of all, shaking the dead wood off your tree, right? Getting rid of people who are not Team Scorpio, like just get rid of them. Okay. And you know what I'm talking about. Um, but meeting new people and reframing for yourself what friendship actually is, you know, and just focusing on different things. Yes. All right, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Sagittarius. I hope you guys are doing great today. So let's see what the energies have to say for our Sagittarius friends. I feel like this guy wants to pop out, Queen of Fire. Very motivated, especially when it comes to something concerning either a project, a job, a relationship. Being very honest about something that's very motivating for you. Let me just show you the card first. Sorry about that. Ooh, beautiful energy there. Beautiful card. This deck is so big, it's me to hold it in my hands. Okay, so we're starting with the Two of Air. Okay. Crossing that is the Hangman. It's a little bit of a challenge there, the Hangman. It's a little bit of confusion. Okay. Transformation coming into this energy. Seven of Fire. Fortune's Wheel, nice major arcana. Ten of Earth is the recent, is the near future. Very nice energy to get there. We have the Sun, which represents you. Very nice. Creative energy. Maybe you're meeting somebody new, or there's some sort of creative project, something connected to your children. External energy, Nine of Earth, somebody's working very hard around you. Six of Earth has to do with your mental block. And the final card for the future is the Page of Fire. So, well, I do want to say that this is a heck of a lot lighter than the last few readings I've done. It does show some sort of like you taking a beat, or there's some sort of pause before a more positive turn. There's no collapse energy here at all. Good, right? Especially because this will be the first full month that we have Uranus in Gemini. But let's talk about this. I mean, we have the Two of Air here, and it's crossed by the Hangman, right? So this is blocking the Two of Air, meaning that there's some sort of challenge here. So this tells me that you're in some sort of like decision point, Sag, but the crossing energy is like delay. Something's being delayed, the Hangman, right? Surrender, needing some sort of new perspective. You may not be meant to force the answer yet, right? Your mind wants certainty, but your soul is like saying, wait a minute, look at this differently. But you might not be totally sure how to actually look at it, right? So that's what's happening here. But when we look at this, the recent path, the transformation, this shows that you've already been through it, right? You've already been through some sort of like major change or release, or some sort of like emotional shedding, that transformational energy. It's very Plutonian. Something old has ended or is ending, an old way of life, an old way of being. Something is changing. And this decision, or this the advent of this is coming after some sort of deep internal shift. I mean, there's no question about it. Now, at the root here, the root word card rather, is the Seven of Fire. And this tells me that you're learning to stand your ground, because deep down, this is really about courage and boundaries and protecting your position. So you may feel that you have to defend your choices, defend your vision, and I don't know who you're defending this to exactly. It's so not clear to me that I feel like it's maybe a little bit of everyone just feeling like that. Maybe even yourself, feeling like you have to defend something to yourself. Now, on the top, we do have the Fortune's Wheel. Again, I am using, by the way, the Good Tarot for those of you who are interested. This shows that things are starting to turn. This is fate is turning, right? Circumstances are changing, maybe faster than you expected, right? There may be this sense that events aren't fully in your control, but that the wheel is moving regardless towards some sort of new cycle, and you feel the change. Now, for some of you, this could be something coming back from the past as well. So this could be some sort of offer coming back from the past, an old relationship coming back from the past. All of that is fine as long as, because the thing is, the Fortune's Wheel is very connected to Jupiter, and Jupiter is about truth. So if it was anything, if this energy that's coming back around is lying, is giving you lip service, if it was toxic then and it's toxic now, but they're trying to present it as something else, it's not going to be blessed, that kind of thing. Now, the good news is you're being represented by the sun here, which is beautiful, right? I mean, this says that you're coming into clarity and visibility and confidence and truth, even if you feel really undecided about something. Your actual energy is strong and it's bright and it's more empowered than you even realize right now, right? The sun is a great energy. It's great. It's very connected to creativity, to our children, relationships, just being happy, being joyful. Now, the Nine of Earth, this is the external energy to you, right? This is really speaking about independence and self-sufficiency, right? And money and comfort and personal success. So, someone outside of you is trying to do all these things. Someone outside of you is trying to be very stable and do their own thing. This could be a significant other. It could be somebody who matters a lot to you. because they're very close in your energy. Now, this can also show, though, an environment where self-worth and practical security matter a lot, right? Where this is the topic of conversation with you as well, right? So perhaps they're working a lot because they feel like they need to, because there's this focus on, security here. Now, as far as your mental block goes, the Six of Earth, this is very much about reciprocity, right? I give you, you give me, right? But it's this idea, it's in your block. Right? It's very hard for you to look at. This idea of, am I giving enough? Am I receiving enough? Am I giving too much? Am I not giving enough? Is this fair? Because you may be very stressed about support and money and generosity and obligations, or whether the energy is balanced, right? I mean, this seems to be something that's very heavy on your mind. But and then you have future energy. We have the Ten of Earth. This is great. I mean, this is actually a beautiful card. It points to stability, very connected to great for long-term security, family, home, legacy, material grounding. Something becomes more solid here. So it could be financial because it's Earth, or Pentacles, right, in the typical deck. So it could be that, improvement in that area, or maybe family support, or some sort of home situation, or some sort of decision that ultimately ends up leading to or towards some sort of security that's going to last the long term. Very nice energy. We love the tens because it's like arriving, arriving energy. Very beautiful. And we have the final outcome, Page of Fire. Love it. Pages bring fresh stuff. So there's some sort of like fresh spark, some sort of new inspiration, or some sort of new message comes in, or new creative excitement, or some kind of new project, or just the courage to begin again, right? This is not a heavy ending energy. It's the beginning of some sort of very renewed motivation that you have. So, I look at this spread, I'm like, you've already gone through the transformation here. You've been through it, right? And now you're in this again, this like period, or this pause, right? Before the wheels starts to turn, right? But so don't rush any decisions. Standing in your own worth, watch out for what feels fair, and trust that this path that you're going on right now leads to greater stability and some sort of very creative, but it's like some sort of fresh creative beginning, for you here. Nice energy. Let's pull some oracles. Oh, I'm not feeling it. Pride being clarified by self-love. So be honest with yourself. You want to just see, are you feeling a little prideful? Are you focusing a little bit more on yourself? There's nothing wrong with self-love. Self-love is great, but when it follows pride, sometimes these two together can be, feeling justified in, not respecting someone else in the relationship, or the business situation, or the family, whatever it is. See, with the Center card is victim consciousness. So there may be something going on where that is where you feel like, I feel justified. So that victim consciousness is a central card. And then to have pride and self-love, it's like, no, I feel like a victim, so I'm going to focus on myself, and that's what I need to do right now. And you may be it may make complete sense, right? It's going to be a little different for everybody, but you really do want to ask yourself, like, are you being fair? Is there fairness here, right? Especially because of the Six of Earth in your in your challenge spot, right? This idea of equity and fairness is in your challenge spot, okay? Now, the last two connected to victim consciousness, we have patience and temptation. It's interesting. I feel this very strong energy, like you just want to bust out of whatever you're in. I got this with another energy. I think it might have been Libra. This like wanting to bust out, just wanting to do more, you know? look, as a Sagittarius, you guys have this inherent wanderlust energy. Um, and it's less, well, I say wanderlust, I mean literally like a lust for wandering, like just trying new things and keeping busy. And you're not an energy that like wants to be that can stay stagnant for very long. So if this nine of earth is always busy working or doing this, that, or that, trying to tend to responsibilities, and you just kind of want to let go more, right? You do want to be careful of the temptation to, go in another direction. I'm not passing judgment whatsoever at all, right? But if we're doing it because we feel justified, that usually leads in not such a great direction, okay? Better to have the conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? Have the conversation. You guys have really light, supportive energy this month. So have the conversation about the deeper thing that's poking at you, that thing that's bugging you. All right, my friends, that is what I have for you. I hope this was helpful in some way. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Capricorn. I hope you guys are doing great. So let's see what is happening. Okay. You guys are doing great today. Let's see what messages we have for May, the month of May. Some changes are certainly afoot, right? Okay, these cards are so big. Okay. By the way, this is the good tarot. My little hands vote, so I'm holding them. Okay, we're starting out with the Page of Water. An emotional spread already. Let's see what happens. Okay, being challenged by or crossed by the Three of Air. Okay, in the recent past, we have the Eight of Air. Let's finish opening this up. And we got the Tower in the near future. Okay, Seven. Okay, let me take a look at this for a minute. All right, again, emotional awakening, colliding with like some kind of grief or some kind of disappointment or some sort of painful truth for us, Capricorn. But ultimately, it's going to lead to much smarter, much wiser long-term growth here. And it's very intense in the middle, but it's more steady at the end of May, if that makes sense. So I don't feel like this is going to be the entire month, but that core situation here having to do with the Page of Water, crossed by the Three of Air here. Yeah, I mean, this is very sensitive, very intuitive, emotional openness. You're getting a lot of emotional downloads here, right? These messages from your heart. Creativity, vulnerability, new feelings, something very tender wants to emerge here in this energy. And with it crossing, right, with the Three of Air, which is Three of Swords and other decks here, this is Three of Air is about, could be heartbreak for some of you. For others of you, it's disappointment. It could be separation, sorrow, emotional truth, or just some sort of healing through some kind of pain, some kind of realization. So you may be um, opening up emotionally after some kind of hurt for some of you. This could also be a message or some sort of feeling that may be tied to sadness regarding a situation, or it could be some sort of new emotional beginning that requires acknowledging old pain before you actually move forward, right? But there's this innocence and this tenderness that are sort of meeting this unresolved grief that you have that you can't not see. You can't not see it. And this is going to be very relevant, particularly the first half of the month. Now, in the recent past, we have the Eight of Air. So recently you may have felt pretty trapped, mentally anxious, boxed in, or just not able to see, whatever options you have clearly. Now, this could have to do with work, could have to do with relationship, it really could have to do with anything, but, overthinking or fear, right? Have likely played some sort of role, right, in this situation here. So, we're looking at that and looking at the Two of Earth, because at the root here, right, the root is this is balancing priorities, right? I mean, this is what you're doing. Just trying to figure your stuff out when it comes to money, when it comes to work, when it comes to responsibilities, any sort of like emotional juggling, trying to keep multiple things afloat. Busy time. Can't keep doing it, right? And this isn't from one issue alone, Capricorn. It came from carrying just too much all at once and worrying about so much all at once, right? Now, your conscious mind, right? The top card here, right? We have the Four of Earth going on here. So you're very focused on security and holding on and protecting resources, trying to control outcomes. Some of you might be in a space where you just focus on not wanting to lose what you've built, you know, looking at what you've done up to this point, not wanting to lose it, feeling like that can be a thing. And this could be a wise caution, or it could be fear-based clinging, right? I mean, it does depend on maybe a little bit of both, right? But this could certainly have to do with your foundation. Very nervous energy here. Now, you are the Nine of Air, so you are carrying worry so heavily right now. You just are, Cap. I mean, this is anxiety and insomnia and regret and spiraling thoughts and emotional stress, right? Your mind's kind of being really mean to you right now, right? I mean, your mind is much harsher than reality is. You're being super hard on yourself. And it's because you feel like you have to be. You feel like you have to be. The external energy, the justice, this is like outside circumstances are moving towards fairness. They are. These are energies external to you. So moving towards fairness and truth and accountability and balance, and could be some sort of decision coming in, some sort of legal situation, decision coming in, some sort of karmic correction. This is good. I mean, this is a good thing, especially if you've been feeling very sort of alone in that space of worry, right? Having to do with your future. Now, this doesn't have to be one person, could just be the general energy, but someone may need to answer for their past actions, or situations are kind of coming back around here to be brought into clearer alignment that maybe weren't so there up to this point. Hmm. Yes. With that Pluto in your second, Uranus in your sixth, and those are trining, like this idea of fairness is going to be something that will be coming. So to have you reading, I do want to say that, but this idea of fairness is going to be coming back around, but it's almost like you're not ready to receive it this month. I don't know if that makes sense, which is fine. It's part of your process. You know what I mean? If this is just part of your process, that's it. Because your mental block here is the Nine of Water. It's very interesting. Very interesting placement, right? Because this is usually like fulfillment and wishes granted. And in the block position, this could just mean like you're afraid. You're afraid of wanting too much. You're doubting you deserve happiness. You're seeking emotional satisfaction in all the wrong places and all the wrong things. You're confusing comfort with true fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? Like having money or the house or the things or whatever, that's not going to bring you fulfillment. And I can hear you from here. Yes, but it will bring me stability. And if I have stability, I will be happy. But you won't feel fulfilled. There's is something else here, right? Because you may know what you want, but you feel conflicted about claiming it. You feel conflicted about going after it. There's confliction here. Guess what? The tower's in the house, and this is a major clearing card, something unstable, something that's like outdated, that's false, or just suppressed, gets shaken loose in the tower. I don't want you to be worried about this. This is liberation through truth, not punishment. Now, depending on the system that you look at it, this is either Uranus or it's Mars. Either one, it doesn't matter, really, because it's all about, like, seriously, like needing something different, needing something different, this could come in as a sudden realization in the near future, like something about relationship or something about what you should be doing having to do with work. But I'll tell you what, there's an ending of any kind of denial. And you're probably feeling that already, but there's almost going to be like a period at the end of that sentence, right? Come May, right? Having to do with something that you have been trying to deny the reality of, right? Everybody's personal birth chart's a little different, so it depends on what it is for you. But really, like breaking any sort of unhealthy patterns. Now, there can be an external disruption that ultimately frees you, so you can't be mad at it because remember, it's ultimately meant to free you here. Because this isn't the final card. Like, this is clearing things out of the way. Then we have the Seven of Earth, which is excellent stabilizing outcome. It's very good, especially after the shakeup or the realization or whatever's happening. Comes patience and maturity and cultivation, much better choices, right? So you're going to invest in what truly matters to you. Growth happens gradually but solidly, which we want. We want that, especially when we have Saturn and Neptune in the fourth house, the deepest house of the chart that represents our emotional security and stability, as well as our home. We want growth to happen gradually, but in a solid way. And you stop chasing any sort of instant fix, instant emotional fix, whatever it is. You build something sustainable here. So you're processing now. This is a month of processing, for sure. You're processing hurt while you're trying to hold life together. And just a little heads up. I don't want you to don't fall down the rabbit hole, but anxiety is going to be high, especially the first couple of weeks of May. But justice and truth are coming into the situation. The tower is going to just sweep out what can't continue anymore because it's not supposed to. And then you move into a calmer phase of intentional growth. So it's intentional. So keep that in mind, Now, for those of you who are vibing this when it comes to like love and relationship, there could be some sort of painful truth or some sort of emotional reset that leads you to choose a healthier situation, a healthier long-term connection instead of anything that you view as temporary comfort, right? The temporary quick stuff, it's not gonna live anymore here, right? If this is about career and money, stress and juggling may culminate in a sudden change, but it redirects you towards a much wiser planning strategy for yourself. Steady your gains. So it's not like a one and done quick fix, but it's steady your gains over time. And if this is just like, let's say your relationships are great, your work is fine, this is more about like emotional healing. For a lot of you, some sort of old heartbreak is resurfacing for the sheer purpose of finally being cleared. So the heartache is not ending. The disruption is not the ending, right? It's not the ending, rather. No, it's not it. It's not the ending. None of this is the ending, right? The real message here and the real wisdom here, right, is patience and just a healthier version of you, a healthier growth. So don't be afraid of what falls away now, right? Fear staying, you know what I mean by that. Staying in that job, staying in that relationship, just out of fear. Fear staying attached to something that's just not working anymore. That falls away now. Falls away. That's a big gift of May for you guys. Let's see some more. What do the oracles want us to know? Courage keeps coming up, man. It keeps coming up. Be courageous. and love yourself. This is, I think, the second time. I mean, you're the 10th sign that I'm doing. I think it came up one other time where it was courage followed by self-love. And I mix these. I definitely shuffle the deck. Let's see the center card. Alchemy. Love it. I love this for you guys. Alchemy is all about blending. It's not about staying on one definitive absolute path. It's about recognizing that the strategy for long-term stability and long-term happiness and fulfillment requires a blending of different things. It's not just work, it's not just relationship, it's not just family, but it's got to be an equal balance of all of those things. And let's pull two cards to clarify that. Patience, we need patience for that, of course. And then finally, rejection. Love this. Listen, rejection is protection. Something that you're getting rejected from, I don't want you to be like, wait a minute, you know, something may not work out. If that rejection comes in the month of May, understand you're being protected. You're being protected. It's not good for you. Remember, you got that tower energy in there too. So there is protection. Sometimes things that we really want, that we think is the right thing for us in the moment, actually are not the best things for us, and we don't know any better, right? So this is where we have to kind of, you know, let God take the steering wheel. That's where we have to do that. All right, my friends, I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Aquarius. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's get into your reading for May. Let's see what we have for our Aquarius friends. These cards are very big. It's a little difficult for me to shuffle them. Just be patient with me. Okay. Tower being crossed by King Fire. Just open the spread up and then we'll go over each card, okay? You are the Queen of Earth right now. On the outcome, it's going to be Four of Fire. That would be Four of Wands in traditional tarot deck. So let me just take a look at this. This really is a very powerful rebuilding spread. It's showing, obviously, with the tower that something unstable is being shaken up now. Very connected to both Uranus and Taurus, but the outcome is highly constructive. It's going to be bringing stability and leadership and celebration, but initially there's going to be this real shakeup. So this is less about loss and more about like necessary restructuring that ultimately ends up leading to success. Because we do have a crossing the King of Fire. And the tower in the center here, it just means like this, this sudden change, truth breaking through, reality the way that you understand it, right? A structure that's just no longer sustainable. That's what happens with the tower, right? And something is not able to continue the way that it is. That's why we need the tower to end things for us, right? It's just not sustainable anymore. Some of you, this could even show up as a bit of a wake-up call as well. But something old is cracking. Some way of being is cracking. Now, crossing it with this guy here, the King of Fire, some of you might know this is the King of Wands in other decks. This is an energy of bold leadership and vision and charisma and competence and, all those entrepreneurship, taking charge, all of that stuff. So I'm seeing here that the challenge or solution is to kind of meet up with that disruption here with courage and decisiveness definitely instead of reacting. We don't want to react. You don't want to react in fear. You're meant to kind of lead through it. So this can also indicate a very powerful energy, a powerful person, a powerful individual entering the situation to help out. But there is energy coming in now. Now, coming in from this, we have this Four of Earth here. Recently, I feel like there's been some sort of caution that you've been feeling or holding on tightly maybe protecting your resources because it's Earth, which is coins and other decks. So you've been holding on to your resources or protecting your resources, or it's not only money, it's also, mental and physical connection as well. So there could be this fear of loss, but ultimately wanting to stay in the comfort zone. So you may have tried to preserve something past its natural expiration date, right? Where you're feeling okay. It's definitely time to move on, but you might even be, for many of you, you might even be feeling like kind of between worlds here, in this kind of energy. But we have here, and we have this root cause, this foundation energy, is the Ten of Earth. And at the base is this long-term security, this idea of family over the long term, home and legacy and stability and, you know, generational concern, generational wealth, and all of those kinds of things. Marriage, assets, all those things. Very much a concern. It's rooted in something very significant. This is nothing trivial, Aquarius. This is not a trivial read at all, right? The changes now likely are going to affect your long range foundation. There's no question about it. And then we have the conscious card, right? Your mind, this top card. Five of Earth, you're worried. You're worried about loss. You're worried about rejection and instability and loneliness and finances and being unsupported. It's a scary energy. It's almost like busting out into the world, alone for the first time, or just at least in a different way. And even if the situation is manageable, your focus is likely on worst case scenarios, like, oh, what if, that kind of thing. So your current energy here, the Queen of Earth, you're so much stronger than you think, right? You just are. This is the equivalent of the Queen of Pentacles and other decks. The Earth is the same of Pentacles, but very practical, capable, super nurturing, very financially minded, very grounded, resourceful, all that. So this is telling me that you're the stabilizing force in some kind of situation. You can handle so much more than you realize. Even though you have all of these like worries, because I do see these worries here, right? Now, the outside energy, which is the Nine of Fire, which would be the Nine of Wands in other decks, right? External circumstances to you involve defensiveness, fatigue, persistence, boundaries for some of you, someone guarded, or some kind of final push before completion. She would be working with somebody like this. Somebody might be putting this upon you from work. They're just really pushing things, right? But someone around you may be really tired. They're very like getting like a very weary kind of energy, but they're not willing to give up. So there's this weariness. Could be a partner, could be a friend. But we do have this mental block of messenger of fire. And, this is like the fear position. What are you afraid of? What's the mental block? It shows hesitation around risk, around passion, around new opportunities, speaking boldly or acting on inspiration. All of these things are making you feel very nervous right now. Very nervous. It could be for different reasons. Maybe you're afraid of making the wrong move, or you're afraid to actually step into a position where you're going to have greater visibility, or you're going through this psychological, the word like mine, F-U-C-K, I can't say it on YouTube, but where it's like this cyclical thing where you're having a really hard time trusting anything that seems exciting to you. Will it happen? Am I worthy of it? Do you know what I mean? But this can certainly bring some sort of message or some sort of news that accelerates change. And you're like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with it. Can I trust it? I don't know what to do, right? And with the near future, having the King of Earth, this is an excellent card. I mean, because this brings material mastery, really understanding like how to deal with your stuff, very wise management. You know what I mean? Taking care of your money, figuring out like essentials when it comes to living, just very, very dependable leadership kind of energy. Um, and there's a maturity about this as well. And when I say maturity, I mean like financial maturity, like understanding like how to balance out your finances, very successful or practical decisions, such a good energy for the near future. So this could be for some of you though, depending on your chart, a stable person helping you out or just a general improvement in your finances. This could indicate like if you're in business, success in business. Um, you presenting as, especially if you're a man, like a very grounded, there's a grounded masculine provider energy. So you don't have to be a man to experience that. I can tell you that. Right? But it's that masculine, it's that paternalistic energy, almost a provider energy, right? You're stepping into it, right? You're stepping into some sort of authority. And then we have the final outcome energy here, which is the Four of Fire, beautiful outcome. This is celebratory. It's harmonious home energy. There's some sort of milestone achievement that's happening here. Um, Beautiful, happy, joyful gathering. It could be with family, it could be with friends, a little mix of both. May is going to be bringing this for you, some sort of stable partnership, feeling of community, reaching some sort of more secured stage, right, by the end of the month. So, I mean, I'd love it to end the month. It's like a happy home energy. You could be ending the month with some sort of really nice event or celebration where everybody's together. There's some sort of successful completion, um, emotional stability, practical stability. I like this energy just in general for you guys, especially that Four of Fire at the end. So something is changing abruptly though for you guys, Aquarius. Like, let's not make any mistake, but it's because it has to. Your fear says you're losing stability, but the cards say that you're actually moving towards stronger stability. So I'm going to say God is saying that because I do believe these are messages that God is giving us some things to think about. But that's what I see is happening here. Like you're starting out with that tower anxiety, but you end with the Four of Fire joy, right? Which is so nice. So this is more about, you know, if it's connected to relationships and unstable dynamic changes, and it ends up leading you towards a more secure, committed connection, or it could just simply be a healthier home life. Right? I mean, it could just simply be that. Or if this is about money or career, some sort of shakeup leads to stronger leadership, some sort of financial improvement for some of you, some sort of eventual success. And if it's just about good old personal growth, you're leaving any kind of fear-based holding patterns and you're just stepping into like an energy that's more confident, a lot more of a grounded energy. So whatever disruption you're feeling, it's temporary. The rebuild is real, and you're moving into just a much better, more prosperous, and just honestly happier chapter of your life, ultimately. But let's see what the cards say. What are some more things you have to think about? Beauty, stopping to smell the roses, help from above, keep praying, don't stop praying. Central card, alchemy. This came up for Capricorn and one other sign as well. Alchemy is about blending things. It can't be all about one thing. It's almost like the domino effect in play, right? Recognizing that if work is solid, then your personal life is going to be good, but it can't be all about your personal life. It can't be all about work. Alchemical process is about synthesizing different parts of your life to feel fulfilled. Sexual arts, Aquarius. See what is inner child. Wow. Well, some of you may be kind of going through something having to do with intimacy and your ability to engage in it in a healthy way. And it could go back to your childhood. It could go back to the way that you initially understood it. I don't care how old you are for that. Um, some of you may be battling this idea of, am I good enough? So you purposely keeping yourself closed off. But we need this, right? We need the intimacy in our lives. We do. There are periods in our life where we're like intentionally not going near anything that has to do with that because we want to actively work on other parts of ourselves. That's different. That's not the vibe I'm getting here. That's not the vibe I'm getting here. But it really is looking at, your beauty, your sense of self-worth, and how that connects to the idea of sharing alchemy, sharing who you are with other people. Because some of you may be hearing like that you don't go, you know, deep enough when expressing yourself. And, this Aquarius does get accused of the cold disconnect of you could talk a lot, but maybe about very surface things and not in depth enough and not talking about those deeper things. And it does seem like that needs to be a conversation that needs to be had here. So that is what I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hi, Pisces. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's see what the month of May brings for you. I'm using the Good Tarot by Colette Baron Reed, and these are very big cards. It's very difficult for me to completely grab them wholly so, but let's get some cards out for you. We have the Three of Fire, which is the core card, crossing the Fool. Coming into this energy, the Seven of Water. We have transformation, the King of Air. Okay, Messenger of Air is the near future. You're showing up as the Six of Earth. Five of Fire is external energy. The world is showing up as your fear and your challenge. Final card is the Five of Air. Okay, so let's see, very meaningful spread. Lots of growth, change, stepping out of old patterns going on here, of course, with the Fool and that Three of Fire, right? Really like turning your back on the past, reclaiming your power. You're at the edge of like this new chapter, but an old mindset first has to be released, if that makes sense. So let's start here with the Three of Fire, right? And this would be equivalent to the Three of Wands. This is all about expansion, looking to the future, waiting for results. Again, future planning, right? Vision, right? This kind of like knowing something bigger is available to you. You sense, it's almost like you sense something in the future calling you, or something on the horizon kind of calling you forward. Now, it is being crossed by the Fool, one of my favorite cards. One of my favorite. I think this is my favorite card. This is just taking a leap of faith. It's being crossed though by this idea of leap of faith, of new beginning, of taking that risk, freedom, trusting the unknown, right? So you know more is possible, but are you willing to step into the unknown to claim it? And take that risk? Because I do get the energy is like you're standing at the edge of this new life path, right? But there's some sort of hesitation that's sitting here. It's just right here. Now, we do have the Seven of Water coming into this energy, or cups, right? So I feel like recently there may have been some confusion, too many options, or um, distraction or uncertainty about what you really want, some sort of emotional fantasy, maybe even um, being stuck, maybe you were even stuck in some sort of illusion that you thought was possible, but you may have been sorting through like dreams versus reality, what's real, what's not, what's really going on here, right? Because we do have this roof foundation, which is transformation, which is, very Pluto. It's the death card. This is about endings and rebirth and release and that Pluto-like deep change. So at the root, your soul already knows an old chapter's over. You already know this deep inside. Even if your mind is catching up, something foundational has certainly changed here. And we have the King of Air, which is this conscious, right? Top of mind kind of energy. You're trying to think clearly. you're using logic, you're setting boundaries, you're making wise decisions, and you know, trying to just pull away or detach in one way or another emotionally, just enough to actually see the truth of a situation, what's really going on. This is not about you allowing your emotions to get involved in everything. Because it's air, it's swords, it's truth, it's facts, it's reality. It's not that watery realm, right? Of the emotions, of the water, of the cups. That this is asking for discernment, not coldness. It's not like your emotions don't matter at all. It's not cold, it's discernment, right? Now, you are showing up as the Six of Earth, right? So there's a very heavy focus here on balance, on reciprocity and fairness. I give you, you give me, right? This idea of giving and receiving, support, money flow, getting help from family, a spouse. I give you this, you give me that. It's like this equitable kind of energy, right? Some sort of equitable relationship. But in this space, you're probably asking yourself, like, who gives back to me? You know? Where is the balance missing in all of this? How do I receive more instead of only giving? Because we know that you guys are the sign of unconditional loving and giving. Because we have the external energy of the Five of Wands. So this is the energy around you. And around you, there is friction and there's competition and ego and clashes and conflict and tension. Some sort of energetic chaos is coming through very clearly to me. Now, this could be a spouse, this could be a boss, this could be a good friend, a family member, but this may just be people around you stirring up the drama or just being in just quite simply a very noisy environment, which just makes peace so much more difficult to access, right? But we have your block and your challenge here as the world. Very interesting placement. A couple of interesting placements this month. Very interesting. Because the world is completion. It's success. It's graduation. It's mastery. It's endings that open new beginnings. But it's in the fear position. So this tells me that you're afraid of closing a chapter, or you're afraid of success, or there's this real fear of outgrowing some sort of old identity that you just don't feel ready to let go of. There's a fear of stepping into a larger life, a fear of leaving the familiar, except that familiar energy is full of limitations. Sometimes, Pisces, people unconsciously resist the very completion that they desire. That's kind of what I'm getting here. Now we have this near future messenger of air. Truth comes in quickly. So expect that. Expect communication, insight, some sort of very open and blunt conversation, but it's going to bring clarity. It's going to bring some sort of news or some sort of decisive mental movement can happen within you based on what's coming in. But what we love about this is the fog lifts. Any sort of confusion is going to lift. So we bring that into the final lift. So you're not confused anymore here. And then we go into the Five of Air, which is the Five of Swords. So if any sort of unresolved patterns continue, the conflict, the ego battles, the resentment, the draining mental energy dynamics, the deflection, the gaslighting, all that stuff, right? This does not guarantee defeat, but it does warn, like, you got to choose peace over proving yourself, because that kind of difficult energy is going to come in. Don't enter any sort of battles that have no end goal. That don't bring value add. Some do, some bring some arguments that we have, they bring clarity. I don't feel like this one is going to, though. So don't even try to win with people committed to misunderstanding you. You know what I mean? Like, they're just so committed to thinking something particular about you. So Protect your mental energy, right? Just protect your mental energy. Because I feel like this outcome card is more likely reflects a mindset to transcend rather than like any sort of fated message that you're going to end up suffering from. I don't feel like that. I just don't feel like that. Let's some oracles. Oop, I didn't turn that down. Mm. Okay, we have cycles of faith, victim consciousness is the central card, rejection, discover your true life purpose. So, guys, here, honestly, life moves in seasons, right? So what's happening now is just part of some sort of repeated lesson, that just keeps happening over. Something old is resurfacing so that it can be healed differently this time. That's with the cycle energy. But you do have to have faith, even if the path seems unclear, trust is very required now. You're being guided through this transition. So don't ignore any of these, little messages that you're getting. But as far as the center card here, a victim consciousness, doesn't mean that you're the victim in reality. It means part of your inner narrative may still believe that others control your happiness, or that the past defines the future, or that you're powerless to change patterns, right? Rejection means lack of worth, all of those false narratives that can really, do a number on our mindset. But that very mindset is ready to be released here, especially with the clarifier of rejection. It's, recognizing that past rejection wounds are active, and you might even still, interpret the present situations through old pain, circumstances that you haven't just totally healed yet. So, that rejection may have redirected you, but not diminished you in any way. Discovering your life purpose, beautiful final card, because once the rejection victim lens clears, right, you get out of that mindset, the purpose becomes super visible, right? Any sort of energy that's currently tied up in anything that's painful or the past or anything like that can be redirected into a really meaningful calling for you. So you're being invited here into a bigger life, but old wounds around rejection and powerlessness are slowing the ability for you to like bite into that and go with it, right? Because you sense expansion, the three of fire, right? You need courage, the fool. You're already transforming. So the truth is coming in, but you have to stop feeding any sort of conflict that's draining you. You just have to. And that deepest fear may not be failure, but it's more like the fear is becoming who you truly are. So right now, just like, don't even argue with what's ending. Don't chase people who reject you or misunderstand you or just so stuck on some other narrative that they have. And just say yes to growth before you feel fully ready. Take the leap, take the chance. There really is nothing legitimately stopping you. So, choose that purpose that you feel very aligned with over any kind of emotional drama, and let the cycle end differently than it did before. So you're not stuck. Pisces, you're kind of between identities, right? That old story says rejection, the new story says purpose, and new things are scary. So just understand that's why you might be feeling a little uncomfortable right now. That is what I have for you, my friends. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.